set up and get going before I
Uh-huh.
can like record. Before like I can just like chill. In fact, I recorded a pod with Matthew this morning about Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. They they had a
I
good
am
time
excited
as
to
well.
watch the movie and then listen to your pod about
Yeah. It, it's funny cuz like Mr. Sunday movies and Nando V movies and stuff, when they do like movie review pods or like even Hizzy, the How It Should Have Ended,
it. Yeah.
they do like the first part where they're just like general feelings and takeaways, non spoiler, blah, 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 blah. And
Right.
then they make it real clear. Okay,
Spoilers.
spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Matthew, the entire episode is spoiler.
Uh-huh.
They're just like, okay, so this little plot point, blah blah blah. I'm just like, oh, are we doing spoiler now? He's like, yes. So I was like, oh, cool, okay. Just lean into it. Oh man, yeah. That was fun. Okay, so
Good.
we are live. Things are ready to
Hello,
go.
life.
I have like 3 bubbles left in Avengers that I didn't read.
Oh, the Avengers tie-in. That was a pretty forgetful one, or forgetful. That was a pretty non-essential one.
Yeah. Yeah, they got real flexible with presentation and act of the act, like how the progenitor acts in like Spider-Man and Avengers, like the super side story ones. They got real flexible with it. Oh shit. 21.
I ain't gonna let that shit lapse. Come on.
Golly. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, you got your little first badge.
Hmm.
Which means I really need to get ready for my 2-year.
That's right.
It's probably going to be a Saturday community video game type stream.
Excellent.
Something just completely different. And now
Have you
it's something
started?
completely different.
Have you started Tears of the Kingdom yet?
No, I haven't even bought it yet.
Wow.
I know. Ugh. Looks like such a fun lose way too much time game. Are you playing?
Yeah, I'm only through. Well, I mean, basketball season's over.
Oh
Cube
yeah.
season's
So what
over.
else do you have?
So
What
now
else do
it's
you have to
Zelda
do?
time. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Checks out.
Um, and I've only played the tutorial basically. I'm just off the first, um, you know, Sky Island. That's not a spoiler.
Right.
Um, and it's basically the same sort of thing as in Breath of the Wild, where they kind of give you all of your little
The like training area before you
yeah,
can
the
like
training
go out.
area that's a tutorial for all of your like powers. Like in the last one, you had the magnesis, the bombs, the stasis, etc.
Yeah. Well. Oh, also I looked at the Destiny of X article, Wikipedia article,
Oh yeah.
and I think we should do the release order. Go off of the release order thing,
Okay.
reading
Yeah,
order list,
I'm into that.
and
So we've got
looking
a
at.
few that we need to go back and catch up on,
Oh, do we?
right?
I
Yeah,
don't
Sabretooth 4 and
think
5 and Knights of X 5.
Oh, yeah, That's a good point. Because I was looking at Destiny of X commences 1 through 20, and that we split that into 3 weeks, and that's kind of 3 columns. But like, I think if we just space it to, I was looking at Destiny of X Resumes, and the first column is like 18 issues, and then or it's like 16 issues, I think. And then 7 through 12 is 20 issues, but 13 through 17 is only 10 issues. So if we move Deadpool 1 through 5 into the third column, then like it's kind of an even 3 session split.
And we do have 3 more issues to add to that. Yeah. Cool.
God, because then I can't believe Dark Web is, I can't believe X-Men have a tie into Dark Web. Because Dark Web is in. Do you want to? Do you want to?
Yeah. How many books do you have until Dark Web comes about for you?
This is the 616 that have come out since we started doing our Destiny of X March.
Yeah.
Dark Web is here. So there
shit.
is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books until Dark Web.
How many of those are also Krakoa?
None of them.
Oh, okay.
Because we've caught up to more like real time.
Yeah.
And those Krakoa books just aren't coming out fast enough because the like 10th book or the 12th issue haven't come out yet.
Yeah, fair. Well,
yeah.
Because
there's Dark Web and Venom Dark Web, but there I didn't know that Dark Web had a whatever it's called.
Yeah, it looks like just a three issue X-Men mini.
Yeah.
Like X-Men or Dark Web : X-Men.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Which almost makes me feel bad for Zeb Wells writing Spider-Man, because it's like he had to do a tie-in for Hellfire Gala, which immediately tied into Judgment Day.
Right.
He gets 6 issues, 5 issues, 3 issues, and then has to go into Dark Web.
Do his own crossover. Yeah.
Yeah, just good Lord, man.
I mean, this is the problem really with the Marvel publishing schedule, with all the events and crossovers and everything.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
we really don't have that. We're really done with like half of Destiny of X.
Yeah, I mean, we read quote unquote up to 7. Yeah. And 8 and 9 are the Judgment Day books.
Right.
So even in France, we're caught up. I didn't realize. I forgot that we're not recording yet. So.
Oh yeah.
Should we start up?
Yeah, why not? Let me get Audacity going. Oh shit! It was already open from last week. Save project.
Damn.
The Sansoms family. Lily and the Shadows.
People showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, people. Audacity. Error opening recording device. You know what? Let's just quit and start over again. Okay, Audacity's up, levels looking good. Check, check, check. All good on your end?
Oh yeah, I'm a minute in.
My bad. All right, let's do this.
Recording in progress.
Friend of the show, friend of us, Stu.
Yeah. Stu doesn't give a damn about this show. And you know what? The show doesn't give a damn about him. That's right, I said it.
Well, okay. he every once in a while, on a couple of occasions now, he has interviewed me about comics and like
Okay.
things that are going on in the comics.
Yeah.
And he
Not
is
like a formal
fascinated.
interview or anything. He's just
No,
like
no, no.
picking
Just
your
like,
brain, shooting the shit. Yeah.
yeah, either he and I are just like chilling after game night, or
Yeah.
most recently, actually, two times ago was when we were on the cruise together. We were just like sitting in the library. Both of our girls had gone to sleep. We were just
Yeah.
shooting the shit. Anyway, point is, he is fascinated by the concept and use of souls in comics, and specifically Marvel.
Interesting. Okay.
Because it's like, it's confirmed that souls exist, right? And it's like, yeah, because like that's what goes to like Valhalla, or that's what you
Right.
sell to Mephisto, yada yada. And so he starts going into like, if there's resurrection, how does that work? Like, is there a process that adds the soul back to the body, or
Yeah.
when you have clones and all this other stuff, like how does soul? What is the science behind the souls?
Sure.
And I don't have. I've never had an
No,
answer to
there's
that, right?
no
But
there's no consistent answer to that,
no, there's not. But it is
and nor should
interesting.
there be.
I
mean-
well, there could be. It doesn't necessarily have to be. In the same sense that like you've had the perspective of like, let Thanos just be evil incarnate, and he doesn't have to have a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
And I think both approaches are fine, and eventually somebody's going to give some sort of backstory like they have to Thanos. So maybe
Sure.
one day someone is going to dive into the mechanics of a soul or a spirit for a character.
Okay, that part I'm fine with. I once you said this is what souls are in the Marvel universe, I don't need it to work that way for every title and every character. You know, like just if you've come up with like a cool idea for some metaphysics and you want to have that in your story, like great. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. And
Good
that's
times.
kind of how it always ends up being, right? It's like
Yeah.
they do
Yeah.
some sort of exploratory story, and that becomes the standard for all of like 6 months, and then like, and then it becomes something I hold on to, and it just gets
Right.
forgotten about forever. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the from the reading for this week, there was talk about Craven was diving into his birth, because this Craven is a clone, and he's like
Yeah.
the clone that survived, because
Right.
original
The
Craven
contest of
original Craven created 25 clones of himself, and the one that survives is the one that gets the Craven name or whatever.
Right.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. So anyway, there's an internal monologue from the opening of that that I sent to Stu, because I was like, I thought you'd get a kick at this. 'Cause it says, we are all of us born bloody and screaming into the world, torn or carved from another body except me. To be a clone is to lose that fundamental birthright, a baptism of pain and confusion. That is the purest, rawest form of truth. I'm jealous of it in a way. I'm seeking it. And so I used that as a kickstart to tell Stu that I want him to write a Marvel book diving into the concept of souls, because because he's asked me about clones and where they fit in, but I want him to like dive in, and he did, like, impulsively.
Yeah.
He
Okay,
wrote
cool.
like a whole thing.
Of course you fucking did. Sure.
And it was a really fun conversation. It basically boiled down to his story has like and you can tell he watches a lot of anime, but like there's like the well of souls, and basically a body like a soul is assigned to the likeness of that body, and so like a clone, like the 25 clones of Craven all split the same infinite Craven soul.
Right.
And basically it kind of dives into that, and then as it develops its own identity, it becomes its own separate soul. And so the soul is defined more by the body than the soul defines the body.
That would help. That would help with another big problem, which comes up in this week's reading too, but I don't mind just jumping into it now.
Sure. Yeah.
Is the problem with overactive healing factors.
Right.
Like if Wolverine can regenerate his entire fucking body from a single drop of blood, then that means that every time you cut Wolverine,
Yeah.
you're just like
And they do this
spraying
all the fucking
Wolverines
time.
all
It's
over
like,
the
what is the
place.
prime body part? Like if you
Right.
draw and quarter Deadpool, do you get
Yeah.
4 Deadpools?
Right.
You shouldn't, and you don't in the comics.
I feel like you probably have in the past. Like there have been
There's been
storylines.
there was a fangirl of Deadpool that was following him and collecting all of his body parts until she had enough for an entire body. And he had 2 left hands. But besides that little jaunt,
Right.
again, another one of those like they did it once and we
worked,
don't talk
it
about
worked
it.
this time this way, and we can't expect it to work that way every time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and Stu was even just like, I'm certain there's multiple magic people or gods that have said stuff that makes this not work great,
Yeah,
but writers
yeah,
ignore that
totally.
shit all the time. I don't care.
Yep.
And I was like, cool,
Yep.
perfect.
Yep. He's got the right mindset for for comics,
and he
even
was
if he doesn't
and,
read it.
and he was like after introducing all of this world building through the main plot revolves around a little boy who has to pilot a biorobot that is his mom's soul in it, and he needs to stop his father from breaking down the barrier between souls and turning everyone into LCL fluid. And I was like, oh, okay. I see where this is going. And I was like, actually, you know what? You could write a story about Hisako, because so I broke down armor and how like her immune power is powered by her dead ancestry, and
Yeah.
in her solo title, her little like highlight thing at her family reunion, everyone dies and she gets this power explosion of power that makes her armor get super tall and she fights a kaiju. And he's like,
Yeah.
damn, that's literally okay, I see it. It's like, yeah. Excuse. Oh, geez. And so then he started talking about how mutant powers are basically magic. And I was like, yeah. And then you get people like Wanda and Ileana who also train in magic, but are also mutants. And it kind of
Except that
blends.
Wanda's not.
And then she made herself one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then we just kind of just dove down, and like our conversation like went on for a good minute of just going back and forth, just paragraph after paragraph. It was really fun.
Cool. That's awesome.
But now it makes me really want like a soul story, even if it's just like a mini series
You
one
were
off.
just gonna say you want
A soul. Yeah.
I was
Can
like,
you give
that's
me
my
mine
bad.
back, please? Jeez.
I think I did at some point, or the rights reverted to the original owner at some. This is like some fucking Hulk Universal Pictures movie rights shit, where like they didn't use it for a number of years and then it reverts to the original owner.
I'll take that. Okay.
I
that's fine with
didn't I
me.
didn't play DDR for enough years, and and you get your soul back.
I'm down for that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyway, so yeah, Soul
Anyway.
Story. I even if it's not Stu's idea, which I think was a really fun idea.
I mean, what
I would be
are the
interested to
heck-
see somebody's approach to it.
It's true. I mean, what are the hex in Judgment Day except for fucking angels from Evangelion?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, just it was fun. It was fun. Had a good time, and it also made me really want somebody to die. Hisako hasn't had a like reimagining or like a new approach yet in a while.
Yeah, it's time
her-
for her to be on a regular title again.
Yeah, but like in the couple of times she's been used in the Krakoa era, she's had way more control over the malleability of her armor.
It's
But
true.
like, how far can she take that now? That's what I want to
Mm.
know. Give
Mm-hmm.
me that. And also,
Mm-hmm.
are they ever going to go back to when it was blue and what the difference is between the blue and the red armor? Probably not, but that'd be
No.
fun. Give me some of that. Anyway, so what are we doing here? What is this?
Yeah, this is Hype is My Superpower, and it's a podcast where we talk about comic books, things that we're hyped on, et cetera, et cetera. We read the main story of Avengers X-Men Eternals Judgment Day last week. We talked a whole hell of a lot about that. I recommend you, if you haven't yet, go and give a listen to that episode before we get rolling on this one, because we're talking about the side stories, the things that happened in between those sort of main beats of the title, that were published in different books at the same time. And Will, do you mind if I give my sort of like unified theory on side stories real quick?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so they come in three buckets.
Okay.
You've
So
got
do I.
buddy.
Apologies. Continue.
Oh God. We're gonna get yelled at again. We so three types of side stories. You good with that one?
Sure.
Can we continue? Okay.
Yeah.
There's this sort of like what I'm gonna call like director's cut, where you've got like there's a scene in the main story of the crossover that kind of happens in like a panel or two, and you're like, that was crazy. I don't really know why it happened, but cool. Or like a big story beat that just kind of like happens and the characters move on, or like moderate size story beat that happens, the characters move on, um, and they get fleshed out in these sort of like side stories, which are often individual titles of ongoing books, and or just like, name of crossover colon character name, and you get to see what happened during that moment from a particular character or team's perspective in a way that like helps bring along their arc in some sort of way. Like, and just as a side note, I would love to see that kind of side story happen on Disney Plus. Like,
Yeah.
imagine if you had Infinity Wars colon Rocket Raccoon or something, and you just
Yeah.
got like a particular character's like journey
Oh,
through an Avengers movie, and like got to focus on their story arc a little more.
yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Right.
Oh,
Why
man,
why
that's
why
great.
haven't they? Yeah.
Even just like
I
in
mean they.
Endgame when
Mhm.
Rocket and Rhodey are crushed under the building, and then
Yeah.
in the rallying scene, Ant-Man's there, Rhodey's got his armor on, and Rocket is safe. Like,
Hmm.
what happened? Give me that
Hmm.
scene.
And it's like, yeah, you can put it in the director's cut of the movie, or
Or,
you can just release a really fucking cool Disney Plus
damn, that would be
series on it.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
And you
Where's
get to
Kevin?
like turn an actual character arc into it instead of just like, like put story beats of beginning, middle, end, instead of just like, oh yeah, we fleshed out this scene so you could know what happened to the characters. That makes it trivia. The other way makes it an actual story.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things they do really well in the comics. I'm stoked. I'm here for it.
Hell yeah.
The second the second type of um uh tie-in story is basically taking the core concept um from the event crossover story arc and applying it to an uninvolved character. So if it's Civil War, you get to see which side they choose. If
Hmm.
it's Secret Invasion, it's like, oh, there was a Skrull here. How did they deal with that? You know, if it's original sin, you dig up some dirt from their backstory and they have to deal with it, right? And so for this, a bunch of characters who are uninvolved with the main story arc go through their judgment. And then the third type, which can often be the coolest of them all, if done correctly, sometimes it's the worst, is basically the main plot of this of an ongoing title gets so wrapped up in the crossover that this is kind of like the continuation of that title requires the sort of like involvement with the crossover. And so you're getting sort of like main arcs, main beats for those characters that are really tied up in the grist of what's going on in the crossover, but those beats don't necessarily correspond to things that are happening in the main series.
Right. Yeah. So like their involvement in the crossover event has to have fallout or involvement in their solo title because they're such a big player. Yeah.
Yeah. In that book going forward. And again, you're not necessarily expanding scenes that you saw in Judgment Day 1 through 6. Sometimes you are. But a lot of it is like, this was such a big deal for these characters that it's going to have like you can't tell the main plot of this book without getting pretty deep here.
Yeah.
And those can end poorly because sometimes crossovers can just be too much. And you're tied in unnecessarily, and a creative team and what they're trying to do kind of gets like fucked around a little bit. And
well,
this
like case
is kind
in
of
point. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say what we were just talking about before going live with the recording about Spider-Man and Dark Web.
Yeah. Well, so on top of that, like when Straczynski was writing Spider-Man, Civil War happened, and in Civil War, Spider-Man reveals the secret identity to the press. Yeah. And so that is fundamentally going to change where Straczynski can take his book, because now you have to do this, public identity Spider-Man now.
Totally. And if that wasn't your plans for your own book, then then that sucks for the creators. Like all of a sudden editorial's basically telling you what stories you can and can't tell, and you don't have your own book anymore.
And in an interview with Straczynski after his run was over, one of the things that he wishes there's a question of like, what's a storyline or something you wish you could have done in your run, and he says he wishes he could have done the unmasking in his title instead of have it happen in Civil War. And that's powerful.
That is powerful. And again, you can do that the way that they do storyline, the crossovers now, by just having like the shorter version in, Civil War 3 or whatever, and then like a whole issue of the main title dedicated to that. But then like if you're trying to keep pace with the publishing schedule of the book, like it gets complicated. It's such I cannot for the life of me fathom how they pull off crossovers both on the editorial and the creative level. Like it just seems like such a logistical nightmare. The fact that these come out and are ever executed well at all is remarkable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like each writer works so differently that like at what point do you give them the heads up that, hey, I'm going to use your character?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you kind of have to be, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like A.X.E. Judgment Day Avengers doesn't even use any of the current roster of Avengers.
Right.
Because they're they're so used in the main storyline. Yeah. So you take this advantage to do something else.
Or it's like you've had a 30-issue run with a character, and it's all culminating into this giant climax, and you've got it all like planned out and outlined and all this stuff, and then they're like, hey, we need your character for a crossover, can you fit this in? And you're like, well, fuck, like I was telling a story here.
Yeah. Yeah, it screws up
So
the pacing. Absolutely.
yeah.
All right.
So with
Side books.
side books, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the companion volume and work our way through,
Sure.
or do you want to go through the what order?
Not the reading order.
Did you
So
do these in? Okay,
this is my favorite thing about the like event side books is you tackle them by title instead of in reading order
Yeah.
because we already
Yeah.
established
It's
the
_A__
overarching story.
Totally,
before
yeah.
that. So we can just go
And-
by title here.
I did read them all in reading order for my first read because I like to get the context of like everything as it's coming in and just like things kind of like trickle down and filter through. But then yeah, for my second reading, I went title by title.
Nice.
Um,
So we
Death to the
covered
Mutants?
I was gonna say we covered Eve of Judgment and we covered Omega last
Yep.
week. So A.X.E. Death to the Mutants 1 through 3.
and this is basically, I mean, A.X.E. Eternals was taken, but
Yeah.
this is basically A.X.E. Eternals Redux or Eternals by Kieran Gillen issues 13 through 15.
Right.
It basically functions as a continuation to that series. And yeah, it's kind of what I'm calling the movie team of the Eternals. The characters who were in the movie, as they are their own sort of like offshoot away from the Eternal Society at this point. Kind of all the shit that they're doing during the plot, plus some live look-ins at Star Fox, Druid, the Mimitor, etc.
Right.
But in this first issue, it kind of goes through. We had one panel each of all of the god parts that are assembled for building the progenitor, including gathering the oral history of Lemuria and their tragedy from the last time that they were destroyed by the Celestials. And this goes into detail on that.
Yeah, that side mission.
Yeah. I was really impressed throughout this series, throughout the crossover, but specifically throughout this series with Crow, the leader of the Deviants.
Mm-hmm.
He just has like a great combination of like even-handedness, sense of humor, like resiliency, responsibility and leadership. Like really great character.
Yeah, I really like him. I know he's been around in the comics for a bit, but my only experience with him has been Gillen's run on Eternals. But yeah, him as a leader of a city is almost like the example that others should be leading by. Like the way that the Quiet Council or the Great Circle is running is not the right way, and they need to go and hang out with Crow and see how Lemuria is run.
Yeah, far be it for me to say abandon your democracy, you know. This dictator is doing it right.
Right? But yeah, Crow is a really fun character. It's very interesting because he's not jaded by his past. Like, so with deviants, we've talked about how deviants eventually have this thing called excess deviation, and that's when Eternals go into auto mode and destroy the excess deviant. But for whatever reason, Crow's deviation is that he doesn't excessively deviate, and so most deviants live a normal human length of
Or
years.
shorter.
Yeah, like 50 to 100 years, let's say.
Yeah.
And Crow's been around for over 10,000.
Yeah.
And because of that, and he has that history, has been elected to be, the leader of the Lemurian people. and he has a very bloody history and a very storied history with the Eternals, but he
Yeah.
doesn't hate them.
Yes, he's very practical, if cynical. But you weaponizes his cynicism really well, and in a later issue, that's how he wins his judgment with with the
Oh
progenitor
man, yeah, I
is
love
through
that.
cynicism. Um, but what a cool character. I was completely unfamiliar with him before this side story, and ended up really really enjoying my time with him. Um, and then we kind of get the behind the scenes of the Eternals and the X-Men team, which will have to, in the X-Men title, we do a behind the scenes of this behind the scenes. But uh basically Icarus brings in the X-Men to lay siege to the Eternal City, turn off the resurrection machine, and stop the psychic siege. And on their way out, he writes with his laser eyes in a wall, "Death to the Eternals." It's double written
I
because
loved that so much.
I did not understand it the first time that I read it. I was like, why is the font all screwy here? And then my second reading, I was like, oh, that's dope.
Icarus
So
has
yeah,
two
it's
eyes.
yeah. So it's written kind of like stereoscopic, like everything's double written
For anyone
because
who's watching.
yeah, each eye is its own laser. Um, did you have anything else from issue 1?
No, it was just I the way Kieran Gillen writes The Machine That Is Earth, it's just a lot of fun to
Yes.
watch stories unfold with that commentary.
You're right. That is the other main part of this whole title, but particularly this first issue is the narration from The Machine That Is Earth. Very compelling character. And and there's a line, I think it's in this issue, where uh basically saying if you've ever played an RPG before, you like computer games, right? You've played RPGs, like the mutants do more damage, the Eternals have more hit points.
Yeah.
Yes, the
So
Earth
cool.
is a geek and a nerd.
Yeah, accept it.
That is such, I mean, and that's so Kieran Gill. Like he writes a lot about he has like creator owned books about D&D and stuff. So, and he was a
Oh,
video game writer before writing comics. He co-founded Rock Paper Shotgun.
huh.
Yeah,
Cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Second issue.
yeah.
This is where
Sally and the
we get
Mimitar.
yeah, sign the Mimitar and Sally the zine creator hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sally is texting this person who calls himself the Mimitar, and she's like, all right, that's weird. And she thinks it's a troll because she's like, every time she's like, go and read this person, 5 minutes later they come back having read everything
Yeah.
that person writes
Go
and,
read-
and just leans into
Go read
it.
T.S. Eliot. Go read Platt. And like the most obvious shit too. It's not like you can be into poetry and not know who T.S. Eliot or Sylvia Plath are. And it comes at everything with both like inexperienced but joyful, not the quote, not bored of anything, which
Yeah.
is what a remarkable quality in a person in this day and age, or
Yeah.
giant fire minotaur, as the case may be. So yeah, the Mimitor that Sally is texting with is Sign, the skyscraper sized angel from Evangelion, member of the Hex. And
So what do
Sign
you
loves
like
poetry.
IRL? Well,
Yeah.
I'm really tall.
Yeah. Aren't you afraid you're going to be judged on not writing enough poetry? I think I'm going to be judged on something else.
I feel like
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Just fun.
Yeah. There's a great scene, continuing on the Crow love. There's a great scene going on between Crow and Emma, and when the deviants come to join up with Krakoa and help protect during the siege, and Crow's like, let me share with you an ancient deviant proverb: the Celestials can go fuck themselves.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, so good. Um, the in the sort of like psychic ruse where there's the whole, like we're gonna do the self-destruct sequence for the progenitor and it's going to destroy Iceland. Um, the band Sigur Rós gets a shout out. I had to listen to some Sigur Rós last night just to, to reciprocate enjoying the shout out. Yeah, if you don't know Sigur Rós, you've probably heard them in a scene in a movie that made you cry. And you're like, fuck, why is this scene so powerful? And it's because they always play Starafleur by Sigur Rós in every single. You just Google it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's in Life Aquatic, it's in everything. Like just Google movie Starafleur Sigur Rós. Not that you would be able to spell any of these words. And yeah, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Bro wins, like I said, wins his judgment with cynicism, but even beyond cynicism, every single deviant passes judgment. And just the looks on all their faces of like, God has failed us and gone out of its way to destroy us in particular so many times. And now we are passing judgment.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? What does it do? Cool stuff. Interesting. If this is ever picked up building forward for
Right.
deviant society.
Yeah, like deviants since day one are the Morlocks of the Eternals. Like they're the ones that are shunned and thrown
Worse
to the
than
wayside.
worse than
kept in the
that. They
shadows.
were the evil. They're supposed to be straight up evil. They were supposed to be like the Eternals even before like excess deviations. Like no, we just kill deviants. Full stop. And because they are what represents wrong and blah 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 blah. And then Jack Kirby created this whole thing to be as a commentary on this kind of racism and uh sort of like hierarchy of race determining your characteristic and all of this. But yeah, that they were not just shunned and ugly and unliked, but demonized by all of the powers that be, by God, by the gods themselves.
Yeah. So conceptually, I have a hard time selling myself on celestials being gods and the progenitor being a god.
I mean, it is one of those conceits that you kind of have to accept.
Yeah.
As they're telling the story. I mean, they are the creators of the life on Earth, more or less. Or not creators, maybe, but they pushed it. They
I mean,
pushed it along.
the blood
Shapers.
of a celestial is what created the potential for humans to.
Okay, so yeah, they created life
exist.
on Earth. They are.
It was a tiny celestial in the primordial pool or whatever. Yeah,
You right.
But like, I guess my hiccup is like, there's no mythology or religion around.
Right. So
They don't fit
a hypocrisy
the
on what.
definition.
Yeah. On what gods mean within it. It's like a god's capital G versus lowercase g.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like there's the gods of humanity, and then there's the literal like the beings that act as creator, judge, knower, final arbiter of our fate.
Right. And like,
so they're for practical uses, they are the gods and Thor is not.
Right. Because like, and
but for
that's the
spiritual
thing.
use, for metaphysical use, Thor is,
They're,
and the
they're the
Celestials aren't.
yeah, because every other use of gods and pantheons,
Hmm.
they were all created through belief,
Right.
and the Celestials were created by the first universe
Right.
because he was lonely, and but it's really just like every time I read Progenitor is God, there's a part of my brain that's just like, I keep going, obviously, but like it's just one
Right.
of those things that like stood out to me. The same way that like how they're using like Muty more casually in Krakoa
Right.
era.
Yeah.
It's just, like it just pauses my like my rapture
Right.
within the story.
Yeah. 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 That's fair. Um, let's see.
Anything? I mean, issue 3.
Yeah. I just want to run through some judgments here. Uranos, it approaches Uranos to judge it, and Uranos is like, it's too early for me, and you know it. Um, let's see. Festos passes, and Macquarie fails, both
Mm-hmm.
for regretting creating the progenitor. But Festos, it's because he's working to correct the mistakes, and Macquarie, it's just straight regret.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I should have done a better job. Um, the machine and the progenitor starts talking to the machine that is Earth, and is like, I see you, you go by, with a smirk, saying you're trying to help these people. You don't actually help. You will be judged too. And machine's like,
Oh.
oh shit. And then we also get the extended scene of Star Fox being rescued, and the director's cut has kind of an interesting dialogue, not really interesting, with his mother Suizan.
Mm.
Um, and Sally, the poet, fails because procrastination. She doesn't actually make her zine.
Yeah.
Yeah, issue 3.
Yeah. I should also say that like they use this Star Fox scene, especially with Suisan, his mom, and Thanos' mom, as kind of a setup for A.X.E Star Fox
Yeah,
that we're going to cover next. And this is where they start to like,
yeah. So we get the extended cut of the extended cut.
yeah, where they give a new meaning and definition
Yeah,
behind Star Fox Arrows and Thanos actually.
that is cool. Yeah,
Yeah, it was fun. I did really like it.
yeah.
It just it's now the new canon because that's what has happened the most recently.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but it makes Star Fox's character make way more sense.
Yes,
It fits it within his own history, and I'm here for it. I'm
totally.
totally down for it. All right,
Yeah.
issue 3.
Issue 3. So we kind of learn the whole, we get an extended cut scene of how the Eternals agreed to being telepathically guided by mutants. The machine refuses orders from the progenitor to, destroy things, just shut off, explode, etc. The reality loom. And but can't hold out for itself. And Nightcrawler's like, oh, I know specialists who are good with AI, and we will see that expanded scene expanded further, because that's how Orcus gets recruited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking bonkers. And then the machine helps Festos reboot it to disconnect with the reality loom from everything,
To restore
including
factory settings.
which means it loses its awesome, cool Kieran Gillen voice. And
All the
it's sad
personality
as
that it had.
hell.
It is, man.
Like, imagine rebooting your router. Like, was that sad? Like,
Yeah.
Festos is just like laying on the ground crying.
I know he's so destroyed because Fastos
Yeah.
has always had a line of communication with Machina that is Earth. Like
Mhm.
they've established a friendship together, and then
Oh, okay. Yeah.
he's just he had to reset his friend basically.
Yeah. It's like resetting a Janet in The Good Place.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That was a tough scene. That
yeah.
was. I'm glad they did that last for the.
Yeah. And we also have Sign and Exodus talking poetry together.
Yeah,
Because
and then
this is the
and
poetry that Sign actually remembers is from
thousands
or
of years ago, or
yeah,
thousand
from
years ago.
thousands of years ago when or 1,000 years ago, yeah, when Exodus was alive. And it's like, let's talk 12th century poetry.
Yeah, they have like a full on conversation. Like they killed each other.
Yep.
And then they come back and they're like, "You want to talk poetry? Like, do we
Yep.
have to fight?"
Yep.
Oh, it's so cute. I love
Yeah. Fantastic. Um and I had nothing else from that issue.
No.
Okay. A.X.E. Star Fox?
A.C. Star Fox. Basically, we get a handful of internal monologues and personal growth and exploration from Star Fox. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm heads up. I'm going to be going back and forth between saying Star Fox and Arrows.
No,
So-
I do the same thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
His birth name is Arrows. His hero name, up until this point, his hero name
Yeah.
is Star Fox. So
And if you're thinking, Eros, that is, a well-worn name. It's not a coincidence. Named to be the god of love, like all the Eternals, or something very on the
Mhm.
nose. And it's very specifically the Eros Thanatos, you know, duality with him and his brother Thanos.
and so you kind of get like a character study of
Yes.
Eros's denial of his birth name.
And not just his birth name, but the responsibility put on him by his parents.
Yes. So his parents birthed Thanos,
Yeah.
which is
Pretty
He-
bad mistake.
he is an eternal born being with deviant DNA, and through him being who he is, has brought death and chaos and evil into the world. And so,
Can I ask you a question? Why? Why?
Why what?
Why did they have Thanos? Because it goes very clear in this issue that their parents had Eros to sort of like atone for the mistakes of
Right.
Thanos, right, and balance the ledger a little bit. Why
Thanos?
Thanos?
They wanted to see if they could blend eternal and deviant DNA.
Okay, so it was just pure scientific fuckery.
It was, yeah, he was a
Okay.
science experiment, and he ended up
Interesting.
being really evil. And so, and it's funny because like up until this book, I was always like, why have arrows if you had you brought Thanos into this world and you wanted to bring
Yeah.
another, like
Right. Yeah, you fucked up that bad and you said, I'm gonna give this another shot.
right? It just didn't make sense to me. I always
Yeah.
thought that Eros was the older one because
Right.
there's no way you would keep trying after you had a Thanos.
Yeah, you're just like, fucking pack it in, I'm done.
But and then this book happens and it's like, oh no, they made Eros because of Thanos. And so like there's that kind of tragic shadow over
And
his birth name.
and it's not just to atone for Thanos specifically. They also give him a mission to change the unchanging people, essentially. Like you are the salvation of the Eternals, more or less.
Right. Yeah, and so and
Because
that
there
is
is something,
a concept.
and maybe that's why they were trying to put deviant DNA, or mix deviancy with the Eternals, is to say like our complacency, our static nature is bad for us, bad for the world. There needs to be change.
Yeah. And that honestly could have been that might have been the catalyst of the fight between Zurus and oh god, not
Mentor.
Kronos. Mentor, was it Mentor? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why they got exiled.
Yeah.
Because he lost and went to Titan, where Titans, the inhabitants of Titan, had similar characteristics to the Eternals, and so they went to that
Yes.
planet. But anyway, so conceptually,
Conceptually.
that is the premise of what Kieran Gillen is exploring in his Eternals run.
Got you. Yeah.
Of the Eternals, it's time for Eternals to change.
Yeah. But they are incapable of it.
But they are designed not to change. And
Right.
so that's why they are currently hanging out in Lemuria,
Yeah.
to live among the deviants to try to understand change.
Yeah.
It's
Cool.
very interesting.
That is interesting.
And then, so there's also this point that 100 Eternals were created, but the list of Eternals is 101
Yeah.
because Eros was added to the machine.
Right. He's the only being to have ever been added to the machine.
And there's about an issue and a half of trying to add Thanos to the machine. And every single time it fails.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, he's a kid and his parents are like, okay, go, redeem our race, save the world. And he's like, I gotta live first. One day I'll
Right.
do it, but I gotta, go have a bunch of orgies
Yeah.
out in space.
Yeah, he's your classic runaway from my
Reluctant
destiny.
hero. It's the reluctant hero trope in every single hero's journey story.
Yeah, so he
which is every
chooses the
single
name
story.
Star Fox.
Yeah.
And so like that is his like birth. It's not his hero name. It's just the name he goes in the same way that like Peter Quill's like, I'm Star Lord. I'm not Peter Quill. So like
Yeah.
he's Star Fox. And anytime someone knows his name is Eros and they invoke the name of Eros, it sends him back to his time on Titan and his parents' expectations.
Yeah.
And so he discards the name Eros for the longest time.
Yeah. And this is his sort of redemption story, his acceptance of the heeding the call finally after his many refusals of the call, which that's every hero's journey. And
The next
yeah. Oh, there's just some cool scenes where he, because he has these powers about influencing emotions from other people. Is like, he goes to this scene of a crowd panicking at, apocalyptic destruction raining down from the sky. And he's like, everybody calm down. And then they just like start checking their phones. He's like, okay, not that calm.
Yeah. It's like, whoa. Like, we need to move.
Yeah. And another one where he comes across a man buried in some rubble who's dying and comforts him in his final moments and says, it was a beautiful world. It was good to live here while if for just a short time. And I'm glad I met you. And the man dies with a smile on his face.
Yeah. And that is such an outside the box use of his like power too.
Right.
And I'm so excited that, well, okay, for two reasons. One, I'm glad that they are taking this ages old character and contextualizing him to not be a womanizer and just a sexual harlot.
Right.
But two, in doing this, it gives a better, it gives a more usable, marketable version of him to use in the MCU.
Yeah. Yes.
I was so nervous. When they introduced Star Fox. I was like, oh no. Legitimately, the only thing that came to mind about Star Fox is that he sleeps with everyone and he uses his powers to do it. And I was like, maybe not the best character to bring to the MCU. But
and you're not going to cast Harry Styles and not use him. So
right. And so I was like, crap, this is not going to be good. Enter Kieran Gillen and his approach to the Eternals and everything tangentially related.
Yes.
Thank you, Kieran Gillen.
My only other note from this issue is we get the extended cut scene of him cutting the deal with Zurus to allow humans to shelter in the Eternal City while the progenitor is laying waste to Earth in exchange for
Being Prime Eternal
supporting
again.
Zurus to become Prime Eternal.
Which is great. Good
after
for
the Stolen.
Zurus. It's kind of
Yeah.
his calling. It's his natural place. But I would have liked to have more
also-
Star Fox.
I know.
Or Eros as the Prime
Yeah.
Eternal. But whatever.
It's also a brand reset for the Eternals. Now they can kind of move forward, be
Right.
in a more recognizable state for whoever takes
then
them
on
out of
top
the
of
box
that-
next to play with the toys.
God, I forget
Yeah.
which title it's in. But like the
This
Eternals
happens a
broke
lot
up.
when we're okay. Yeah.
Post Judgment Day, they've gone out and just
Yeah. Yep.
they're just
that's
out
true.
in the world now.
I think
They're
that
not
was
even
in Omega. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an Omega. They're not even like they're just among the people now.
Yep.
And
Well, at least the band of Eternals that is
The movie Eternals.
The movie
Yeah.
Eternals.
yeah, for sure. Because just in the 100 Eternals that exist, there's like 15 different groups.
Right.
So
It was really cool to see that. I did read the last couple issues of Gillen's run to kind of prep, and it was cool to see him kind of spell out these factions and who is loyal to the Prime Eternal and who kind of is a renegade or goes their own way. So Prime Eternal still has significant sway with most of the Eternal population.
yeah. Okay.
A.X.E. Iron
Axe.
Fist.
Yeah, A.X.E. Iron Fist.
My first note here is just absolute nonsense.
It's dumb.
You want to explain to the people who this current Iron Fist is and how this happened? And by the people, I mean we and me. I know who it is. I was on the podcast with you. I listened. I remembered. But like, good gravy, dude.
This is the first time you've had to read it.
Yep.
Yeah, Lin Lee, aka Swordmaster, aka this guy that they introduced in Marvel Future Fight and brought into the comics
in a
because
mobile
Asian
game, not
market.
created. Yeah.
Whatever. Not as big a deal as I make it. But Swordmaster in his last appearance,
It's kind of like when there was the whole like dust up when they were creating the Iron Fist show and they'd never created a like there weren't any Asian superheroes in the MCU yet. And they're like, what gives? Like you gonna make the martial arts guy a white guy? And it's like
yes, because he is.
yeah, like that's who Danny Rand is. And so the obvious solution is like, well, then let's have an Iron Fist who's not Danny Rand that we can pull up from next time we have something like this going on.
I guess. So Xiao Lao is the dragon that the Iron Fist has to fight to steal the heart to get the dragon mark.
In just a really cool, 1970s kung fu movie scene. Every time it looks fucking dope, right?
Yeah. Xiao Lao chose Lin Li and just offers his power to him. They never fought.
Yeah.
They're not even like Xiao Lao reached out to him from like across the world and was like, "Here, use my powers. Have a good time." Also, Lin Li has his own thing with his own sword and Chinese history, family history, and the sword is its own legendary artifact, family tribe blocking the Chinese Lord of Chaos from resurrecting. Blah 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 blah.
Sure.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, his brother is the antagonist. His long lost brother, his Racer X, is the antagonist.
And in true like anime speed racer fashion, so he's confronted with Loki many times. And
Loki is teamed up with his brother.
Yeah,
for reasons we don't know.
Yeah, whatever. And then he makes a few appearances to Lin Lee. And is like, I know where your brother is. And immediately, Lin Lee's like, where is he? Take me to him. I must know where he is so I can.
Oh, it's so dumb. Anyway, this issue exists to show their judgments. both Loki and Lin Lee's. Even though I don't feel Loki should be judged. Although Thor, I don't feel Thor should have been judged either. But I feel like gods don't care what happens to Earth. Like there are plenty of other planets and species that they could be worshipped by, and they are actively worshipped by.
Right.
But whatever, they love Earth. It's fine. So anyway, you dive into a backstory of Loki when he and Thor were children. You dive into a conceptual backstory of Lin Lee, which is unnecessary.
And Lin Lee just lifts the fucking hammer because why not? Let's give him everything. It's
in a story, and so it's not a real hammer, but he does lift the hammer for visual's sake. And somebody somewhere is going to use that as Lin Lee is worthy for to wield Mjolnir, and no, it's not.
Yeah.
But anyway, they battle the progenitor presenting itself as Xiao Lao, and so Lin Lee has his actual battle with Xiao Lao, and then they pass and they move on.
Yep. And Lin Lee once again refuses to, tear the heart out of Xiao Lao, and is friend. Like,
power of anime friendship. Power of friendship only works in anime. You don't bring that to my Marvel books.
This is an anime. Everything about this is anime.
Anyway,
the thing that was cool to me is that Loki is being judged by Kid Loki. Like who is a worthwhile judge who has the sort of like esteem in Loki's eyes to pass or fail him. Who does he respect enough? And obviously it's himself. He's Loki, but just like who does he fall in love with in the Loki TV series? Obviously it's himself. He's Loki, but also it's his young self who is untainted by the expectations of being evil from other people and goes out and actually does good with the Young Avengers, etc., etc. Journey into Mystery, great book. Read it.
Yeah, I've been toying with the idea of reading Journey into Mystery on Sundays.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
It'd be a fun one. It's really good. Just the the storyline of
more
Loki
Kieran Gillen, by the way.
Yeah, seriously. The story of Loki becoming the god of stories instead of the god of lies is just it's so heady. But it's a lot of fun. I like that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the worst side issues of this entire storyline.
Well, I also wasn't a fan of the next one.
Fantastic Four.
47 and 48. Also nonsense. It seems like this was supposed to be A.X.E. Fantastic Four. But the Reckoning War just kind of happened right at
happened.
It ended at the right time. And so they're like, well, I guess we'll just make this the two issues in the normal book after the climax, just to shove it in. And it's like a completely different creative team, right? Like it has nothing to do. Like imagine having Fantastic Four on your pull list and you've been buying it every month and you've read through
and then these two issues
come and you're like, that was incredible. Like what a good full story that left me satisfied at the end. And then you get a call from your LCS and comic shop and they're like, hey, we've got another issue of Fantastic Four in. And you're like, what? I thought it ended. All right, I'm down. Like, that was great. I'll keep going. And then you get this shit.
So here's the thing that bugs me. And it only bugs me because I read so much. But like the constant rehashing of, hey, this character deserves to be taken seriously. This character is really strong. This character is amazing. Like their spotlight issue or storyline. They do that with Spider-Man a lot. And it's usually a non-Spider-Man book. Like it's like Avengers appearance or Wolverine team up or whatever. It's like, oh, hey, other people who don't read Spider-Man, Spider-Man's a big deal. Check them out. They do that with Sue, Invisible Woman, every few years. And it's like time. And for anyone who is a longtime reader of comics, it's like, yeah, Sue's effing amazing.
And
She's
not only that, this is one of the worst examples of it. Like this is basically the storyline for these two issues is Reed locks himself in away in sort of like a think tank chamber where he can't be disturbed until he figures out the puzzle of how to solve Judgment Day, right? And Sue's in charge, and she's written with like no individuality really. She's just kind of like strong female protagonist, like generic strong female protagonist, like look at me, I can do everything, I hold it down, don't underestimate me.
She handles everything without actually showing her thought process. It's just she just
and it's like I will solve everything through the power of caring and nurturing because these are my woman powers or whatever. But I also kick ass, it's and this is one of those storylines that only works when you like it can only work by making Reed Richards into an idiot, which is a hard sell. Okay, so the main antagonist for this is Oubliette Midas, who's an interesting character because she runs around the world in a gimp suit and turns things into gold. And she's been used really well in the past in like Original Sin and the Marvel Boy Novar series by Grant Morrison. Anyway, she gets a job at the Baxter Building with no background check. just kind of shows up and has a job. She destroys all the security effortlessly, and then just tears down most of the building essentially. Like it and there's like a most of the building falls on Ben. And
I don't understand how that's happening in the middle of the building.
Right.
In the middle of the Baxter Building.
They just collapsed like floors like 46 and 47 or something.
Right.
And there's a big old force field that's blocking Johnny out, so he goes and buys a pizza, and it's just like, and everything's on Sue and she fucking handles her shit. Cool. There's one cool thing from this that I really liked though. Mostly the usage of her powers was very unimaginative, uninspired. She could have handled shit much quicker and easier if she just was kind of like, written to standard uses of her powers. But she makes a gun misfire by stopping the transfer between the trigger and the cartridge igniting.
Yeah, that was impressive. That's I
will give props where props due, and that was cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Because Midas is like, oh, blah blah blah. You can't stop my gun from, you can't stop the bullet once it comes out of my gun. It's too powerful. First of all, fuck off. Second of all, she's like, I'll just make the gun misfire. Pretty sweet.
And then just single-handedly, well, it's weird because she stops Oubliette by attacking her self-confidence
by telling her she's adopted.
Yeah,
that's it. That's how you beat a supervillain,
apparently. But like that's lore changing.
Yeah,
impressively so. But okay, well, all right.
And there's an appearance. Oubliette makes a evil clone of Novar, calls him Space Boy. That's pretty cool.
There was a random, so on the little like personal hyperbolic time chamber that Reed uses. There's like text that shows like kind of what he's thinking about, I guess.
Right.
And one of the ones, so it just says the average person falls asleep in 7 seconds. Okay, whatever. But then there's this other thought of insects outnumber humans 100 million, and then it's covered by text. But it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, why are humans the representative for Earth? Like,
Yeah. I mean, this is
Um,
this was actually a plot point in that same Grant Morrison Marvel Boy series.
yeah,
The Kree were like, we are going to splice, we're going to create the splice Kree DNA with the dominant species, the strongest and most hardy and most productive species on Earth, and so they used a cockroach.
right.
Yeah.
Because yeah. And then when we brought up this subject to Matthew and Paul, which we're going to try to have on for an episode,
Yeah.
they're just like, wait, humans decide this? And
Right.
it's-
Right.
I was like, damn, you're kind of right. But so that conversation is in the back of my head, and then I read that, and I was like, wait, yeah, insects, judge the insects.
Maybe they are being judged, and we just don't have a good lens on it.
Well, which prompted me to add, like, so I tweeted Kieran Gillen a second time. And I was
Nice.
like, and neither of them have been responded to. It's not a big deal.
Sure.
I don't know why he doesn't love me. But I asked, I was like, hey, we got to see Cap and Crow as two representatives of people get judged the way that they did. Is there anyone else that you wish you could have judged that you would like to?
Yeah.
And because I'd be really interested to see, like, every single time a Kieran Gillen storyline did a Judgment, it was very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes.
And I'm like, even just something like Doom or the widow of the plot line that we followed that died to bring back
Oh
Slime.
yeah. Yeah.
Of just like, I'm afraid that they
Kamali.
would judge me.
Yep.
Kamali.
Yep.
Little things like that make me really curious of like, insert character X, give what Judgment Y would you give them and why?
And it's I mean, and obviously it's a great like kind of like landing point or jumping off point for telling stories, because they're able to get so many out of this. Like, and again, like a lot of these that we're getting to is just like the story of the various Judgment of various characters being enough material to tell a whole like comic about. That's cool.
Yeah.
And it makes and it works. So yeah, I'm totally down. And then at the end of Reed's think tank session, he pops out and he's like, yeah, the solution, I didn't have a solution for the whole world, but I had a solution for how I can pass my own judgment, and it's to spend more time with my family. So hey guys, the rest of the world, they can figure it out. And okay, I guess this is an ongoing thing for Reed, right? Like, he is always being judged on this sort of thing, and this is a very, very like common plot point for him.
It's just interesting because like
he didn't do what he didn't do what he went in there to do.
There's that. But it's also like fantastic. So every title gets that reset every few years because they have to, because comics and sales and new readers and all that. But like, nobody gets a character reset as hard as Fantastic Four.
It's really true. Yeah.
Like Tony Stark, Captain America, Peter Parker, they all get resets, but like their character is still matured. They just their circumstances around the armor that they have or the abilities that they have or whatever, those get reset, but they are still a growing character. The Fantastic Four, with the exception of Thing, because he's always been a good person, but like Sue getting underestimated and having to prove herself,
Right?
Johnny Storm being just an impulsive, immature ass, and
Right.
Reed being the scientist that ignores his family, always
Right.
gets brought up and always is their like plot point coming of age
Totally.
storyline, and it comes
Totally.
up every couple of years, and it's really
Yeah.
obnoxious.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't have
it's
anything more.
annoying.
You're absolutely
It's
right.
annoying.
Yep.
It bothers me the most with the Fantastic Four, I think.
Yeah, because there's so much room to do other things with those characters. And also because okay, I wonder if once we see an actual successful movie adaptation of the Fantastic Four and people just kind of like Marvel's uh comfortable with the strength of the brand and how well, like people are aware of the characters. I wonder if we'll start to be able to move forward on them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Ugh, I hate commercial external commercial sales bullshit.
I know.
Bugs me
I
so
know it
much.
sucks. Um
Anyway,
anyway.
non
And
other X Men. Let's do the non X titles.
okay. Just one last thing on Fantastic Four. I got a little like teaser at the end of my issue that the next run of Fantastic Four is being written by Ryan North. So that's exciting. I think he's going
Interesting.
to do a great job. I mean, I love Ryan North. Obviously, he he has a very um distinct comedic voice from Dinosaur Comics and Squirrel Girl, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's pretty well known at this point. But he can write other things, and
Silver Dreamer.
he's a sciencey dude, and he's a very smart guy. I think he's going to do a good job.
Yeah,
Can we take a
that should
bio
be fun.
break real quick?
You want to do a bio break? We can do a bio break.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You have fun with the good people of Twitch.
Okay. Hi, good people of Twitch. Whoever's still here, you guys are amazing. Steve can't hear us. You can say whatever you want about him. Steve's bio breaking, but I guess I'll get a. I was gonna get something to drink. I already had a Monster today. Do I want another one? I had that Monster 4 hours ago. Sure. 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 Yeah, I guess I'll go get one. All right. I'll be right back, guys.
Hello, good people of Twitch. I have returned, and Will has not. You are. You
I
are
debated.
playthings under the thumb of an angry god.
I debated, and then I was like, yeah, I'll just go. Anyway,
He returned with a beverage. This was my problem. I started with 2 beverages. Rookie mistake.
rookie mistake. Um, let's just do Avengers and Spider-Man real quick.
Avengers. Yeah. Let's just blow through these. Avengers is the judgment of Hawkeye.
Yeah, and Hawkeye doesn't care, which is kind of odd. It's also
kinda
it's
into
also
it.
it's also arted by Greg Land,
That is also a thing. Yeah.
which is not odd because he has a book, Nonstop Avengers or something.
I mean, look, you can work really fast and and draw a whole lot of books when you trace everything.
Yeah, so
It's very
I guess-
easy for Marvel to just call you up and be like, "Hey, we got a rush job for you. You want it?"
this is one of the first times where Progenitor is portrayed differently,
Yeah.
because Progenitor shows up to Clint as Black Widow. Excuse me, as Black Widow, but she doesn't have the glowing eye,
Right.
and signifying, unless that's just an artistic thing for us this entire time,
Right.
but like it's just a little odd.
Yeah.
And then, like, in this one, Progenitor is more than willing to have a full-on conversation with Clint
Totally.
for like the entire day.
Yeah.
Just like following
And takes
him
on a
around.
bunch of different forms too. Also
Yeah.
acts as Luke Cage for a little bit. Yeah. It's a goofy one. There were a couple things in here that I liked. One, we kind of get a little bit of a little bit of word on why the Celestials keep judging humanity.
Oh yeah,
And-
they're tilfs.
Yeah, they're tilts.
Terrestrial. I'd like.
Hawkeye's like, yeah, like no, some other ridiculous acronym. But it basically means that Earthlings are impulsive and self-destructive, but love an audience. Oh, BRB.
Did you just spill a drink?
I did not spill it; it was empty. But my empty beer can went flying, which, you know, I guess this is a self-destructive human loving an audience. So yeah, humans are self-destructive and they love an audience, and this makes them like an object of concern for the cosmic community. So
Yeah, that is interesting. That like
Yeah.
it flips the conversation around Earth on its head.
it does. It also kind of like, I'm not sure it's totally compatible with the rest of Judgment Day. Like this
It's
is
not.
an Eternals God thing, like, you know, and the judgment is about like the particulars of this God and spirituality and, you know, the eternal mission and all that. But that's fine. Like this was
Yeah,
an
it's-
interesting concept, and they
It's
played
not
with
blasphemous, but it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like every other time when you see galactic empires talk about Earth, they talk about like how unique and odd Earth is. In that
Right.
it's the only planet to stave off Galactus, and multiple times at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like it makes itself known to the universe so often, but still
I mean-
hasn't mastered space travel.
Right. As we were talking about with the Shi'ar Galactic or diplomatic council in what was it, X-Men Red recently.
Mhm.
The entire thing is made up of people from Earth.
Oh my gods, dude. Are you kidding? Like
It's Storm, it's T'Challa, it's Richard Rider, it's Hulkling.
and Orbis Stellaris,
Yeah.
who is from Earth. We just don't know who it is yet. I bet we're gonna learn who that is by issue 12 of X-Men Red.
Okay.
That's my
Sounds
that's
good.
my declaration.
Sounds good.
And knowing me, it's going to be another Attack on Titan situation. I made a prediction on a plot point in Attack on Titan that something was going to happen by issue 9 at the earliest, and it happened in episode like 72.
I think I accidentally read a spoiler on Orbis Solaris.
Oh,
I'm not sure I remember
like
correctly,
who
but
it is?
when I first popped up, like when they first popped up in
Oh,
in
interesting.
uh in X-Men Red, I was like, is this a character that I should know? Let me look them up. And I
Oh,
did,
really?
and I think I saw a spoiler.
Oh, Steven.
I know, I'm
No, that
sorry.
is
It's a
that is
bad
a
habit.
good it's a good quandary to have because
Yeah.
legit though, whenever I get in the X titles when a
Yeah.
mutant gets revealed, I
Yeah.
immediately assume, oh, Steve probably knows who this is. So I save myself the research.
Uh-huh. Okay, leave it to me to
Yeah.
get spoiled. Sure.
Sometimes that actually happened to me with not that actually happened to me, but like conceptually that sort of happened with something that I had to take away from Across the Spider-Verse.
Hmm.
I wanted to see if I had forgotten something from the comics. um, and then I found out that it was introduced in the movie, and I was like, cool,
Ah,
good. Moving on.
nice. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure whether it was Orbis Stellaris or a different character who I
Mm,
spoiled myself on, but I think I spoiled myself on somebody recently.
mm, mm.
Anyway,
Okay, yeah. Um,
I
Anyway,
don't
yeah.
have. Oh, and the other thing is the kind of get a little more explanation for how the judgments work. And this is not really something you wouldn't know if you read everything else, but it sums it up really well. And it's like if
For
there
a
was a
self-entitled book, yeah.
contest, yeah, yeah. Uh, if there was a contest for best alligator, who would you choose to win? Would it be like the alligator who most denies the fact that they're an alligator? Would you do like the saint of alligators, or would you do the alligator who best exemplifies being an alligator?
Yeah.
And who eats the most people or whatever, and
Right.
then just do that for everybody,
I actually started to
according
get
to their own.
excited. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I started to get excited when like of where you could go with this when the progenitor was like, okay, I'll compare you for your judgment, I'll compare
Yeah,
you against this
a
mailbox.
mailbox.
And
Yeah.
then you have like this page and a half where the mailbox is
Noble
making
for the
people's
letter.
days by creating situations for them or like saving their day and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, shit. Wait. And that was cool. I like that.
That was funny, and that's a good like level of Hawkeye self-deprecating humor as well. I
Right.
enjoyed that.
But yeah. And then should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Anyway,
Spider-Man?
Hawkeye passes,
I'm-
I think.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye passes.
Spider-Man.
I'm gonna let you take the wheel on Spider-Man here.
Cool.
I was okay. I was really weirded out by this.
The art was weird. It was weird
It was
that
super weird.
the art was super angular and different. And then
Yeah.
also so Pete gets visited by Gwen Stacy as the progenitor, or progenitor as Gwen Stacy.
Right.
And but Gwen Stacy follows him around all day.
All day.
And,
And everybody in the issue who's being judged by somebody is being followed around all day.
yeah.
Kamala is being followed around by Carol all day. And then the
Aunt
stinger
May
at the
has
end we
Uncle
learn
Ben.
Aunt May is just really stoked to be able to hang out with Uncle Ben, and that's sweet.
Yeah.
But the stinger at the end is that Norman Osborn is also being followed around by Gwen all day.
I guess because that Gwen doesn't have the glowing eye. Well, doesn't have the like fire eye. coming out
Oh,
the
so you
side.
think that's just his guilty conscience?
I don't know because he's
Wasn't
been
he
absolved of his
all
sins,
guilt?
right? So like I would think that because of cosmic Mephisto BS, Norman should pass.
Right.
But regardless, yeah. So he's followed around by Gwen, and so Pete under the pressure of being watched by the progenitor, is trying to continually do the right thing. He reaches out to Aunt May, visits her for a little bit, helps fix her leaky faucet, helps Joe go get a suit because he's getting married to Janice, who is the current Beetle, who is Tombstone's daughter. And he goes and sees Jonah, and Jonah's freaking out. So he's trying to apologize about everything to everyone that he's done in the last 50 years.
This is a common thing in this issue, which doesn't happen very much in the rest of Judgment Day, which is a lot of people are trying to pad their stats a little bit, cook the books in their favor to pass. And J. Jonah Jameson's the most hilarious example of it. Offering everybody back pay and et cetera, et cetera.
What's interesting is he's seeing his judgment play out in Gwen's eyes.
Yes.
So anytime he's making a poor decision or is hesitating, Gwen has this like stoic, almost like judgy look on her face. And then when he does something right, she smiles. And it's like, okay.
And this is not how it happens in anybody else's thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's also so blatant and it's also, again, it's not the best crocodile thing, right?
You're right.
Everybody's being judged on being a good person and not how much they exemplify themselves.
How much they live by what they believe. And it's one of those things where, like, based on reading A.X.E, I'm like, Spider-Man totally is going to pass. In reading this Spider-Man issue, I'm like, no, he doesn't pass. I don't want him to pass. The way he's trying to live up to the Gwen Stacy's following him, that's not the Pete that I want.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, he tries to go and find Ben, who's currently Chasm, and who knows what's happening there. Well, we're going to find out at some point.
Ben Riley.
Yeah, Ben Riley. And then he goes and meets up with Miles, and he's just like, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm proud of you. And it's like, oh, thanks, man. Anyway, so it ends with Pete going to work. And if you remember, Pete has accepted a job to work for Norman Osborn, which is weird, at Oscorp. Yeah. I don't remember Kamala ever getting hired to work at Oscorp, but here she is. And when Norman shows up, Spectre Gwen is like scared because
has a freak out. Yeah,
and she leaves.
And so this is actual Gwen way more than anyone else has been. Any of the judgments have been their actual person.
Right, and she loses her eye thing.
Yeah.
And just is regular Gwen. And then Pete follows her to the roof to apologize. And he's like, hey, I'm super sorry. Something happened during the 6-month jump that the readers haven't read yet. And Osborn is the only one. Osborn is the only one to be there for me. So I need to believe in him. And then it speaks in the speech bubble of the progenitor, and it's just like, I hear you live up to the person you're kind of trying to sort of be to a degree. I pass you. And it's like, oh, thanks. and then he also says, so receive my gift. And you're like, what? And then just Gwen Stacy just plops onto the ground in front of Pete. Yeah. And he's like, wait, what? And it's Gwen from back then. Like, she hasn't aged. She's in the clothes that she died in. Her neck works, so that's good. But she's just like, I don't know what's happening. You look so much older. I just know that I missed you. And it's like, oh, that's cute. And then
we only had a moment here.
Yeah, they start to embrace, and then they're crying because they're so happy. And then Gwen's like, okay, I have to go. Progenitor said I only have a moment. I'll see you later. Bye. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's odd.
Yeah. Peter also says, I still love you, and I'm trying to do right by you every day.
Yeah, because F Mary Jane. Dude. Some of the stuff that's shown up in my... Anyway. I assume down somewhere in the next few issues, he says he loves Mary Jane like a sister.
Right.
And it's just like, bro, Wells,
Right.
Zeb Wells. Come on, man. Anyway,
I know he was so good
yeah, it
in
just doesn't
so many
make
other
sense
things. Yeah.
Anyway, so but that is physical Gwen Stacy resurrected for 10 seconds to say hi to Pete
Right.
because he passed judgment. But then on top
Right.
of that, Norman Osborn saw that and it was like, holy shit, Gwen Stacy was here. What?
Yeah.
And Norman, being the repentant man that he is now, is clearly shook by this, but not like
Right.
he's not like exploring it and like evil geniusing
No.
that. But it ends with him being like, okay, it's fine, everything is fine. And then there's a red-eyed, glowy, like cyborg eye Gwen Stacy staring at him
Yeah.
behind him, and then the issue ends. And you're like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
fun, great, awesome. It's a dumb issue.
It was a dumb issue. I mean, not reading the title, I didn't like it, but I didn't have a context for it.
Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, there's one other non-X book in Judgment, and that was Captain Marvel.
Oh yes, I forgot to take notes on that one.
That's okay. Captain Marvel 42, which it's just the first issue after the Trials storyline. Trials ended on issue 41, so that's perfect. And basically, it's the judgment of Carol and L'Oreal, her half sister. They have the same mother. L'Oreal is being judged by their mom, Marielle,
Right.
and Carol's being judged by Marvel, who she holds up in on a pedestal.
High esteem,
And then also Chewie is getting judged.
Oh yeah.
Who is a Flurkin,
Chewie the Flurkin.
which is an alien cat that has a dimensional portal in its stomach and tentacles in its mouth. He's getting judged by Carol. And he goes around.
Cats are beyond our judgment.
Like he grabs he like hunts down a mouse, is about to kill it. He looks at Carol. Carol gives him the thumbs down, so he lets it go, and then the thumb goes back to neutral. And you're like, oh, okay.
If there's anything that I call shenanigans on that. If there's anything that humans actually want a cat to do, it's to actually kill the fucking mouse. Get it out of the house. Don't just like play with it and then just like let it run off.
Although in its semi-defense, this is in the hallway, so it's not in Carol's apartment. But regardless,
Even better.
it's dumb.
Now you don't have to clean it up.
Yep. It's anyway, it's Chewie going around and helping the tenants and getting thumbs ups on that. The tenants of the apartment building that Carol lives in. And then solving the problem that real Carol and L'Oreal couldn't solve because they're busy dealing with the symptoms and not the problem. And in doing that, Chewie passes, and L'Oreal and Carol pass because they saved people.
Yeah.
It's classic. Like this is the non-thinking generic
It's
assumption
the second type
of the application of the Judgment story.
Totally. Yeah.
They saved people, they pass. Like that's what you would knee-jerk assume the world is going to do.
Right.
And we got the example of it, and we see how non-compelling it is. Moving on. There's nothing good. Like you didn't even have the like fun banter moments that I like celebrate about
That you've
the
loved
Captain Marvel
about
title.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
And it's like what a terrible first issue for you to read of Captain Marvel. Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. It wasn't compelling. It wasn't thought provoking to any degree. It wasn't an original take on the Judgment Day
Yeah.
situation. So,
Yeah.
but an alien who doesn't even live on Earth got judged.
That's right.
L'Oreal, the accuser, got judged because she was currently on Earth at the time.
Right.
You could take that and extrapolate a bigger picture thing, but they're not going to run with it. So
No.
it's no point in thinking too much about it.
All right. So for the X-Men tie-ins, do you want to start at the?
I'll let
You
you
wanna start
decide.
early?
Because- So use.
Okay.
So I feel like Red and Immortal we should do last.
Oh, I was gonna say Immortal. We should do first. Maybe no, it's fine.
Because those
Okay.
are the two hype ones.
Those are the two hype ones. Okay, so let's try and go quickly then, because we're already at an hour and a half. So we're working our way all the way up to hype. So we can start at X-Force. Did you read Marauders at all for this?
Yeah.
Because you said that some of it was in your next trade.
Yeah, I bought it.
Oh, you bought
Marauders,
it. Okay.
Marauders 6.
Okay. I didn't reread Marauders for this, so because I didn't know and I ran out of time. If I'm being completely honest.
That's
If
fine.
if the progenitor is staring over my shoulder, and this is specifically Amazing Spider-Man, and I'm being judged on whether I'm lying to you or not.
I mean, okay. The Marauder 6 issue is basically what you would expect from a side tie-in book.
Yeah.
Especially a team book. You have a team of like 6 individuals and they each get a page and a half of their judgment and what they
Sure.
saw as their judgment.
I'm realizing that by the way, this is just a side note, but I'm realizing that remember when Kate Pride was killed off in Marauders, and we were just like, what the fuck was that? Like, that was so anticlimactic. It just happened. It was only for the purpose of getting her back on Krakoa for the Quiet Council voting.
Yeah.
There's no other reason for it.
Yeah, you're right.
I did actually like this.
I will say one thing I did like.
Marauders issue.
One thing I
remembering
liked
now.
conceptually, but the cynic in me is just like, okay, you're just wiping away whatever. But like,
Yeah.
they just did this King Crimson battle for survival, big
Yeah.
deal thing, and then they're expected to just jump right into Judgment Day, and so
Yes.
they do a quote unquote mutant circuit of a resurrected Birdie and Somnus
Yeah.
to
Oh my God.
take 10 minutes of real time to help them all process and think and get past the trauma of the last storyline. I say trauma
Okay.
from their perspective, not that we saw it really happen, because it was not written well.
Yes.
But that was cool.
I do like this bringing back of Birdie. She was an incredibly minor character. I don't even know if she had lines previously. She was basically just a captive telepath of Sabretooth who used her like a drug to calm down his homicidal rages and produce a sort of state of euphoria. And yeah, she basically had no agency, no characteristic whatsoever. She was just kind of a football. And so it's nice to see her being used in a respectful and affirming way, where she has a job and she is a mental health practitioner who has like skills, instead of just like her power produces the glow, it makes you feel good. She is a drug.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, how do you use this going forward?
Yeah.
If you wanted to use
Yeah,
her
yeah.
as a character, how can you
Yes.
effectively use her?
She's like
Oh,
the
trauma
mutant
help.
answer for Doc Samson, right? Like
Yeah.
the and
And trauma.
every yes, yes. And every Peter David comic has an issue where the assembled heroes are being treated by Doc Samson, and he goes deep into therapy with them, and now the mutants have their own versions of that.
Yeah.
They can go through it their own.
Yeah, so you have Birdie doing the glow thing in combination with Somnus, who can stretch out mental time. And so,
Yes.
like, from an outsider's perspective, it's an easy get out of jail free card of just like, yeah, they processed it, moving on. But from if you tell the story from their point of view of just like going through all the steps and taking as much time as they need in their
Yes.
own mental space, which they do a little bit here in this issue,
Hmm.
that's a lot of fun. I like
Yeah,
that.
totally. This also has cameos from some uh they're just really going Steve Orlando's really going through the hits of obscure 90s and early 2000s uh X-Men characters, because we've got Mr. Scratch, who is
Right.
the mutant whose mutant ability is to be immune to other mutant powers from the alternate universe X-Men uh comic
Oh.
that I read recently. uh, who Wolverine once stabbed him in the brain, and he existed in a constant state of murderous rage. And now Brimstone Love has cured that. Also,
Mm.
Dirt Nap, the rat with the big old smiley face on his back,
Oh,
makes a cameo appearance.
that's a actual.
Oh yeah, that's a character from the Dark Riders.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
he he had a hero turn. He's a Larry Hama character, so take with that information what you will.
Mm-hmm.
He had like this big dramatic hero turn where he died eating a bomb uh
Oh.
to save everybody. His power is he can like eat things or something. I don't even remember. There's also another issue of Marauders in between what we read and
Mm.
this that I don't
It was the
remember.
conclusion of the
Okay.
continuum.
It made a big impact on us. Um, but yeah, so Bishop is going through his memories of the XSE officers from his future who he came to the present with, and they both died, Malcolm and Randall, who just have the dumbest names ever. Like that's your super guy name. I guess Bishop is his last name, so it's like everybody's just kind of in the future is just hanging out with their names. Um, and Jean Marie is hanging out with all of her different, you know, uh, dissociative identities, um, and uh, and kind of some of her Alpha Flight past villains who've screwed with her head. Um, Not super important. Tempo is being judged by one of her Mutant Liberation Front teammates, Sumo. And we kind of get into the texture of her, um, like when she's saying, yeah, when time changes, I remember, everybody
Mm-hmm.
else forgets. That's really painful to me. This is the example here is that she witnessed Sumo um, becoming like a big hero and having a full redemption, but then she had to basically erase it when she changed time, and they had like a closer relationship, and it had to be removed in order to basically save the day.
Right. Yeah. So whatever timeline they were on, June ends up having his hero arc, and then in doing so, goes back and undoes whatever. And then she sees June and she knows his potential. She knows that he could have been a hero. And the next day, Cable shoots him in the
Yeah.
head.
Right.
So okay.
um,
Yeah.
Psylocke stabs Quanin Psylocke stabs Mr. Sinister in the head with her psychic knife, and because he's the progenitor, but also her kid is the progenitor. Um, I don't really have anything else than that. She's just kind of angry.
Yeah.
Um, and then Somnus is being judged by Northstar
Yeah.
because he was the first mutant hero to be out and be publicly out as gay.
I like
Um,
that.
yeah, me too. And so the whole thing is like you spent your entire life in the closet. Um, like this is your kind of like avenue for being judged, basically.
Mm-hmm. Which is
And
rough.
it is rough. And he's basically saying, but you know what? I can't change that, but now I'm going to move forward. So that's one of the gray areas in the progenitor where it's like, are you living your best life and you're on your way to doing the right thing? Yes, but it's not about tomorrow, it's about today. So fuck off, you fail. Um, so who knows? And then Daken um is being judged by himself.
Right, which was interesting. Another different take on progenitor that like it's basically looking in the mirror this time.
I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think any of them get their final judgments, do they?
I don't think. Yeah. They don't really dive into what the up or down was, just what they experienced. Which
Yeah, and
from a therapy trauma session doesn't really
yeah,
matter. It's really, what did you go through?
yeah, and Cassandra Nova declines joining it all, which
Yeah.
is terrifying, but unsurprising. And then the last page stinger, we get a new sort of bad guy in the Orcus umbrella, somebody named Judas Traveler.
So you don't know
I
who
don't
that
really know
is.
anything more than that. Nope,
All right, cool.
no
Okay.
idea. I
Another one of those.
maybe
I was like, I'll see.
I think I think I ought to. Maybe I'll look him up now.
Okay, while you're looking them up,
Um,
I'm just gonna issue 5 of Marauders. That was the end of the King Crimson storyline.
yeah,
Nothing really to take home about, but as far as like threads that have changed characters, Cassandra Nova used the wet skin, which was the lobotomized symbiote. And so she was a symbiote for a little bit while they attacked Nemesis. And then when they got back, she gave that symbiote, whose name is ZZXZ, not to be confused by ZZYXZ, who is a character of pure energy.
right.
Gave that wet skin to Warbird,
Right.
who we got introduced to Warbird as the caretaker for Kid Gladiator in Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yep. Jason Aaron's
But
run.
so she has the symbiote now. And then the other takeaway is someone named Cerebra is here, and I felt like I should have known who she was, but I just don't.
So this is where knowing too much about having read too much comics backfires on you, because Cerebra. So remember how I was complaining about the whole X-Force Cerebrax thing because they've already done Evil Cerebro comes and tries to kill everybody?
Yes.
Well, after they destroyed Cerebro, after that, they remade it as Cerebra, and they spent
Right.
10-15 years with a
Cerebra.
Cerebra.
Yeah, it was like a smaller it was a more compact version of Cerebro. It was like a
Right.
travel Cerebro.
Yeah.
But that's Cerebra?
I don't
Is it
think
the same
so. I don't know.
Cerebro?
I don't know what they're doing.
Okay. Okay. Whatever. Moving on. That's Marauders. It was an interesting book, at least.
Judas Traveler, I just looked it up. He is a character from the 90s, but he is a Spider-Man character from the 90s. He's never appeared in an X-Men title before now. Oh, he was in Giant Size X-Men Thunderbird. What was he doing there? I don't remember.
Oh, maybe just
Anyway,
referential.
yeah.
He might have been the Orcus person, other than
Oh, yeah,
other
because
than
there was that
the
there was that
the werewolf
off-panel.
guy.
Yeah, there was an off-panel view of just somebody's like it was like a real Dr. Claw moment where you just saw
Yeah,
hands
yeah.
and a chair. So cool. Judas Traveler, bad guy.
Orcus, Judas
Orcus.
Traveler, Orcus, bad guy.
With a name like Judas Traveler, I don't think you have to,
With a
assume
name
very
like
much to
Judas, like come on.
assume he's a bad
Was it
guy.
nominative
No,
declarative
determinism. Yes, 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 yes.
determinism? Yeah.
Like Esteban
Um,
Corazon de Hablo. Um,
Jeez. Let's see. We did Marauders, did Captain Marvel. So the only other comic I had to download was Legion of X #6, but I think we also had to do Legion 4
Legion
and 5.
4, 5, and 6. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Um,
So 4, 5,
so
and 6.
Legion,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
So
We
Legion
just
4
yeah.
it has nothing. Oh, cat needs to be fed. Rachel will take care of that. Don't you worry, people. So yeah, Legion 4 is the end of the last story arc regarding the trickster god, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Uh-huh.
And or actually 4 and 5 kind of do that.
Yeah.
So after the whole mix-up that happened on the astral plane last time we covered Legion of X, and Kurt, they go into Kurt's desires, and it's having just a raucous night of sex with Zen. Yeah, they hook up. Later says like because there's a long character study of Kurt going on through this, and it's like, what do you ever do for yourself? Like what do
Mm-hmm.
you what drives you? You are full of hypocrisy, you are full of like all of these rules and maxims that you apply selectively, etc. And you even when we hooked up, that wasn't for yourself. It was he's just like, that was for Sen, that was for me, or Sen says that was for me. You enjoyed it, but uh yeah, so that's interesting. He also said Legion says that there's a secret no place somewhere on the beach. That and a skinjacker made Charles forget about it. Even Warlock doesn't feel it, and also Warlock won't reveal to Legion why he knows so much about Krakoa and what's going on. But
Yeah.
this seems to be something of the payoff of, like, sorry, your dad's dead.
Oh yeah, dude. Legion is just such a fun character. I'm so
I
glad
know.
he's been brought back.
Totally agree.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. Nightcrawler forces Switch to switch with him, uh, and ends up, blindfolded in front of the god, dislocates his arms to take off his blindfold, confronts the god, who turns out to be Tumult, the trickster chimera, and is a mix of all terrestrial trickster gods.
Oh my god, so cool.
Very cool.
Basically, like somebody on Araco, we find out pretty much immediately who. Someone
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
Araco came up with the concept of a trickster god, and because they didn't know what that would look like, this trickster god just ended up being a chimera of all the trickster gods.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Who am I? What is this?"
Yeah.
Oh, so
Very
cool.
interesting.
So he describes
And
himself as he's got the helm of Loki, the feathers and fruits of Eris, from
yeah.
Huehuacoyotl, this mocking jaw, from Anansi, the limbs of Fable and Fate, Veles and Hermes, Mali and Manananan, Nana Bojo and Kagan, and a dozen more lost to age and apathy. Just a full amalgam of tricksters, and it's just like
Yeah.
he
Very
looks
interesting.
cool. He's got
right?
4 arms. He's got that
Excuse
hook
me.
of Maui. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you see the horns. We've been teased Loki's
Right, and they're
horns, and you're
so
like, is it
visually
really going to be
distinctive that
Loki? It's not going to be
you see
Loki.
the horns in silhouette, and you're like, huh.
And yeah, so we get his name, Tumult. And then he kind of complains
And
to Nightcrawler of just like, yeah, I was brought into existence and then they denied me.
and we
And
learn who it was that brought him in, and it was Aura Serrata herself, the
the giant floating
arbiter,
eye.
the giant floating eye, who is kind of the keeper of law on Araco, and specifically the law against having gods at all. So here's a real big hypocrisy here.
I didn't realize, and so we don't need to go into every single detail of each issue, but
Sure.
I didn't realize until Nemesis pointed out that
Yeah.
there's a body.
Yes.
Did you
Aura
notice this?
Serrata. No, I mean,
Okay.
I saw something like on top of the
I
eye.
thought it was a
The
crown.
eye takes, yeah, it's hard to say what it is. The eye takes a lot of visual real estate. It really captures the attention, and it's not just any body; it's a baby body.
Yeah, it's
It's
little
just
baby body.
having tantrums and stuff, and yeah, what's his name? Dr. Nemesis delivers a great line where he says, "Did I just lick my own head?" Because he has those psychedelic mushrooms growing out of his head now. Like, did I just lick my own head, or is that a giant eye attached to a baby body?
He read that and I was like, wait, no. Did they change its design this entire time? I always thought that was a crown. But like,
Yeah, it
it's
makes sense.
legitimately just
It's so much smaller than
a
the
giant
eye
eye
that,
ball. And
yeah.
yeah, I thought that was a crown, but it's a throne for which the baby body to sit on.
Incredible. Um, and that actually becomes relevant in X-Men Red. So yeah, then we get like a memo where Charles is like sending a message to Kurt and is like, "Hey, um can you give me regular reports on Kane? I know you want him in your Legionnaires, but like I want to keep tabs on him. Also, do you have any info on like what's going on with Banshee and this weird spirit that has possessed?" We later learn it's the spirit of variance, which is kind of interesting take on the spirit of vengeance, that because he kind of looks like a Ghost Rider head. I'm sure will be explained a little more later. And also, hey, all these people who you are like, who are breaking laws, who you are dealing with in the Legionnaires, can you put them in? You should put them in front of Council's judgment. You're kind of that's kind of what we do. And he says no to everything.
I know. In a post-it. Like he wrote his responses
even
on a
be
post-it note
bothered.
and sent it back.
This book, it really revels in being just absolutely snide as hell to Charles Xavier.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we've spent the last few years living by Charles's rule. These are the people who don't believe in it.
Right.
Oh man, but yeah, and then just conceptually, what's the conclusion to the Trickster God?
Yeah,
'Cause
so
that's kind of the main thing on 5.
yeah, sorry, I have to go through my notes here. It's basically uh that so Aura kind of gets called out on on being the creator of Tumult, goes on a rampage through the altar, which is the psychic space in the place with the Krakoa gate inside Legion's brain, and starts destroying things. Meanwhile, Switch gets to Legion, and which is kind of terrifying. And so there's a lot of like, if you die in the astral plane, that's bad, et cetera, et cetera. Dr. Nemesis delivers a great line: "I refuse to dissipate into Gaiman-esque abstraction.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
Just fully referencing Sandman in another comic. It's cool. Uh, Legion unleashes his other superpowered personalities and against Aura, and they all get obliterated. I don't know if that'll be relevant going forward, but we'll see
Yeah.
if that's like has consequences, or if it's just like, yeah, it's Legion. He's got a, endless number of these.
Right.
Um, and so they save Legion from Switch, obviously. And they switch. Uh, they basically solve the problem of Aura with mirrors. The Aura's obliteration powers would all be reflected back at her if she uses again, and also Storm showing up and being like, we got a challenge here for you, like bring this god to you know Araco as to the Great Ring as per the god law. But they switch the Skinjacker mutant with Tumult the Trickster God and give Tumult a new life in Switch's body on Araco or on Krakoa. I guess fuck Devin Alamar, Switch, whatever. You
Yeah.
could be resurrected once we figure out the goof or whatever, maybe.
Mhm.
And Zen leaves Kurt in the middle of the night, but not before painting a picture of him, because she paints with truth. We never get to see what it is, but he gets knocked down onto his knees by it. So would love to see what it is. And we also learned that Aura Serrata was a Mother Righteous client.
Mhm.
This character, Mother Righteous, this being of great power who's cutting deals, who we assumed was the trickster god,
Right.
isn't, and has a lot of things going on, cutting deals with all sorts of people. So, and that actually becomes relevant because Mother Righteous just starts showing up in other books besides Legion of X. I thought
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
clearly just confined to Legion of X, but oh.
She's becoming a big player.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay,
Should we
moving
shotgun
along.
through these lesser titles? So, Wolverine 24
Well,
and 25.
we've got Legion, the actual
Oh,
crossover
the actual
with
crossover. Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Judgment. Yeah. Let's do this after X-Men Red because this ties into X-Men Red.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Okay.
Wolverine 24 and 25. Wolverine's being judged by the progenitor, all while teaming up with Solemn, whose mutant ability is that his skin is made out of adamantium, and they both have a Muramasa blade. And Hellbride, who's the daughter of the Beast of the Hand, when Wolverine first went to go get the Muramasa blade, he and Solemn killed the man that Hellbride was supposed to marry, and so now she's pissed and she wants to go get revenge, and so she takes a trip to Earth to deal with them, and no one dies, and everyone goes back to square one, and we move on.
Yep. And it's basically like he saves her when she's laying down face first in the snow. And then they later have their team up, and then he gives her the Muramasa blade of his own volition. And Solemn's like, I just want to go to hell to hook up with the Hell Bride now. Like, screw this Judgment Day stuff. And Wolverine's being judged by everyone he's ever killed, which is not an original idea. And
Nor is it a
backup
small
story. No. And then there's a backup story, which is basically an ode to bar fights.
Yeah.
Cool.
Moving on.
What are we? X-Force?
Yep.
Okay.
X-Force was like 30 through 33.
Yeah. We've got a
30,
lot of X-Force,
31
and none
through
of it says
33.
anything.
Nope.
Yeah, Sage wants to send Omega Red and Deadpool on a good PR mission, using them because they're deniable agents, because they're not even full like Krakoan citizens or member of X-Force. And there's like, Russian people doing bad stuff in a northern shipping passage, et cetera, et cetera. Omega gets annoyed with Deadpool and maims him, cuts off his arms, and then he gets eaten by a bear found by Kraven the Hunter for some weird reason. Who is out hunting things, hunting polar bears, and then goes into a bar, overhears someone say mutants are the apex species now, and Kraven's like, well, obviously now I have to go hunt mutants. He goes to the North Pole naked in a weirdly sexually charged thing, where he confronts the progenitor. Drunk Sage takes Omega Red to the Shadow Room as an outlet for his homicidal urges. Deadpool reconstitutes. Basically, Kraven finds Deadpool's head in the polar bear's stomach, uses him to ride through the gates. Beast is turning into even more of an asshole. Now he's xenophobic. He wants to close the borders to all these mutant refugees who they're rescuing. Sage's response is to keep drinking. Kraven infiltrates Arbor Magna, destroys all the eggs, kills Maggot and Icarus, who just like can't get a break. Come on. And not Icarus the Eternal with a K, Icarus Sam Guthrie's little brother with the red wings. Hunting, he decides to hunt Wolverine because he's like the meanest mutant of all, right? Gets to Beast, takes him to the Shadow Room, uses him as bait. And Wolverine wins the duel. Kraven escapes. It doesn't let go of the grudge, so maybe he'll be used again. Anything else from X-Force for you? That's 4 issues right there. I just blasted straight through.
That was more than I would have said. So yeah, it's fine. Just because it's one of those things where you're telling an X-Force story and you feel like you have to have Wolverine, but he's got his own title, so he had to do that. And then he had to show up for X-Force, but he was also a player in A.X.E. So like you can't do anything consequential and you gotta do it fast.
Yeah. Why not just do, and this is an example of the third version done wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just do the director cut of his scenes in A.X.E. where he's doing useful things to the plot, but no, he's Wolverine, you have to put him everywhere. Obnoxious.
Agreed. X-Men 13 and
13 and 14.
Did we do 14? Yeah, we did 14.
Yeah.
13 and 14.
This is a hell of a trial for the brand new team. They're just thrown straight into the shit.
Yeah, seriously. The fact that Hellfire Gala jumps right into A.X.E. just the poor team.
Yeah. So Bobby does the same kind of snow globe thing that they did in space in Marauders recently. Now they're doing that in the ocean, and they're getting the X-Men team into the Eternal City down there. Close enough that magic can teleport them in. They go to kind of do the director's cut of what happened in Death of the Mutants, where they shut down the resurrection machine, stop the psychic war, et cetera, et cetera. Forge steals something while they're down there, and we don't know what it is. So,
which does he need to? No.
He's written in a very weird, humorous tone here. He's the comic relief in this book, which is not how he's been written, except for when Warren Ellis decided to make him a raving psychopath in the 2000s for whatever reason. He's like, am I having a peyote flashback, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah.
And then during the sort of like the next issue, Team Up Proper, Iceman basically needs to be there's a team of Game World refugees dressed up as Nova Corps people who are like, oh, there's still a bet out for the Earth, right? Yeah, we'll just make a giant solar flare to destroy Earth. And Bobby,
which is a Justice League
Iceman
plot line. Anyway, so 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 they find out about the plot and the flare has been created and they're like, okay, we need to save the planet. And so Bobby's like, cool, I got this. And so he creates a giant freaking ice shield
Yeah.
over the earth where the flare is going to touch down. And they psychically connect to everyone and like Forge is like, okay, this is how big, how thick you should make it, and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. And when it hits, Firestar will be up.
Yeah, and Firestar is, melting the shards so that they don't destroy the civilian population, and the resulting you know use of moisture creates a rainbow,
Yeah, a thick rainbow. Like
a
that
gigantic
is the
rainbow.
most uh, bold colored rainbow I've ever seen in comics. But yeah, it was taking an opportunity to flex Iceman again.
Yep.
Which, oh man,
And
so
and
this
then
Iceman,
and so yeah, go for it.
this Iceman, I love, and I
Yes.
thought that the Iceman that has been spoiled for me was going to show up in here, and it didn't,
Mm,
because the spoiled Iceman is the Iceman that I don't like, but it's part of his repertoire,
interesting.
and so it's whatever. But
Okay.
this Iceman flexing on a giant ice shield around the planet or part of the planet is just so wild. It makes an amount of sense, but not a lot. But I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm here for it. That was wild.
Yeah.
Ugh, so crazy.
Um. And then, as Iceman's walking away after saving the day, reporters like, "Hey, do you have anything you want to say to the people?" And he's like, "No, this is what we do. Actually, it's time for me to come out."
Yeah.
And so he announces the world that he's gay. Um, Good for him. The reporter brings the story to their editor. The editor's like, "Let's kill the gay angle. It's too much." And she's like, "No, we're gonna keep that in."
Yeah.
So yeah, Iceman comes out to the world, creates a giant rainbow. It's the first week of June, so happy Pride Month, everybody.
Yeah.
First week
Pride
of June as we're recording. Once this comes out, it'll not very much not be.
Yeah. And then it ends with Cyclops' judgment,
Yes.
where he says, "You could judge me, but I don't care what you judge me for. The only person
Yeah.
that can judge me is my wife. Thanks."
Hmm.
And Progenitor is just like, "That's legit. You pass." And it's like, okay, buddy. Come
Right.
on. But like, the number of things you could say and tangent off of on the fact that Cyclops was judged worthy and Cap was not. Two different writers, but
Sure.
it could be interesting considering that they are both representatives of two different groups.
Kind of, but I mean, except for the week where Cyclops was dressed up as Captain Krakoa, like he's never represented his people in that same kind of way. He's just been a leader. He hasn't been the embodiment of something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny because the comics have jumped down this rabbit hole a lot of like leader versus leader of Cap and
Yeah.
Cyclops.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I
Yeah.
never see that talked about outside of the pages.
So here's my thing on Cyclops. He's a leader out of skill, but and he's also a leader out of desperation. He's just an orphan who found a family and will do whatever it takes to keep them. And so much of his like romantic fixation over the years, and like storylines about him having kids and like successive romantic partners and stuff. Like this is all his attempt to recreate the family that he lost when he was a child.
Damn. Yeah. Okay. There it is. There is a fundamental difference in origin.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
just
And
human versus mutant,
Cap is
but like
yeah, Cap is not motivated by anything that small. Everything about Cap is about the bigger picture. And like, yeah, Cyclops works for the bigger picture, but more on a practical level than an idealistic. I mean, his idealism is even practical.
All right. Well, fuck me. All right, there you go. Well done. Immortal.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do Immortal X-Men.
Here's Kieran Gillen just having a great time with the X-Men and the Quiet Council
Just
specifically.
wilding. Yeah.
Let's see here. We start with, I think,
We start
Immortal
with a flashback.
5? Immortal 5,
Yeah,
right?
with 5. Yep.
And we dive into Exodus.
Yeah, and this is all pre-existing backstory for Exodus that was very obscure, where he had like a one shot and an actual one shot, one issue of comics, diving into who he was in the 12th century, and he was in the Crusades. He was going through the desert and with Sir Barrington, who was the Black Knight at the time. Weirdly, also Garrington, like Dane Whitman, was kind of riding shotgun in Garrington's body psychically during that time, and Cersei was also there. So they're all like knew each other, and that's why when they say like when Exodus says I have experience with Eternals, I've fought one psychically before, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about Cersei in that particular time. Which
props for remembering. Props for remembering, like, from a writer's perspective.
So from a writer's, well, here's the thing. I feel like there are two kinds of deep cuts. There's a deep cut of a character who has a rich history and you're pulling something obscure out of it. And then there's a deep cut of a character with almost no history and you're pulling the only thing out of it. And we're getting the latter here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, especially in a situation with Exodus where he's a member of the Quack, like, he's a big deal now.
He's a big deal politically.
You're gonna have to remember all issue of his history. So like props for just acknowledging it on paper.
Yeah. And so he he stumbled across like a tomb or a machine or some manifestation of apocalypse while they were in the desert, and it seems like the obvious thing, like he's this religiously motivated mutant. Apocalypse is the obvious like savior figure. Why didn't he worship Apocalypse? Why did he defy Apocalypse? And you kind of get the backstory. Well, Apocalypse wanted him to kill Garrington, who was his buddy, blah 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 blah. But he still respects him enough to make him vital to the religion as the devil. And he says, well, that's important too. Like, you need that. There's also a great line in here. An X is a rotated cross, and all mutants carry the cross in their genes.
Yeah. Man, like, that was such a blend of like, damn, really? But then I was like, oh, but don't crosswash every single mutant.
I mean, this is just the world through Exodus's eyes, right?
Right. Yeah. And that fits into his like
and how
entire
he can
character.
How he can very seamlessly go from a Christian crusader to a mutant religion zealot. So he take after during the decimation when there's only the 198
The
mutants
198.
left. Yeah, he takes a pilgrimage to the sun.
Yeah.
And we kind of get like a little bit of that. I kind of expected him to go there to try and pull out Phoenix Jean's body
Yeah.
because when the Phoenix Force took over Jean and made basically a copy of Jean's body and ran around being her, including killing a planet. She was tried and then she flew into the sun to die.
That would have been real interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Damn.
But not so.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, I am the Pope of a new church, like Peter was to the Nazarene mutant. Of course, the Nazarene mutant is Jesus. So
They've
fucking
referenced that
flex.
so many times. I fucking love it. And when,
It's always great.
When they're like we have to rebuild the tables, call the mutant carpenter. I was like, ooh.
I mean, listen, they can resurrect mutants from anywhere in the timeline now, right?
Like there's no way that they would. But oh my goodness, can you
they
imagine?
just hatched Jesus from an egg.
If he's just sitting there in the waiting room of just like, hey, is my number up or you good? Oh my good lord. Oh,
They
crap.
accidentally hatch Adam Warlock instead. They're like, fuck this guy.
The freaking the existential crisis that Exodus would go through if they brought back the unnamed Nazarene mutant who was a carpenter.
It's just Adam Warlock.
Oh my god.
It's just Space Jesus.
There's one other thing in this issue that I really liked, and we've spent a lot of time on this
please.
issue, so we should move forward. But
Yeah.
when we go into like his mental image of his battle with the Eternals and stuff, he has this little psychic team up with Emma and Hope, and and so he sees himself as a knight in his original Crusader garb, and he's like, in my left hand, a diamond shield, and it's like for all her barbs, Emma's protective. She would not wish the children hurt, and just consistent understanding of Emma's character. But then he has this like he has an actual diamond shield, and then he's like on my right side, Hope the Messiah, and he has this flaming phoenix sword, and it just looks so
that is
cool.
tight. Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it so much. It's I'll show for the people who are watching, but like, just it's this like when you have this like conceptual imagery of how people see themselves, and you never get to see that until it's thrown into the comic. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, and psychic powers let you do shit like that so seamlessly.
Yeah. And so he gets ready to go and fight the psychic Zurus, the dragon.
Next issue, number 6.
This
issue, at least the first half of it, is going inside. We get the director's cut version of the scene where Sinister and Destiny conspire to sway the Quiet Council vote to vote for destroying the progenitor through the self-destruct plan. And we have some interesting notes here because Destiny, basically Sinister tells Destiny about this information, and then she uses it as she sees fit to manipulate the vote by introducing it at the right time and including or excluding certain pertinent information. So they do it while Xavier is dead, just like the minute he dies.
Yeah.
And they kind of like minimize the odds of an explosion causing such havoc. Again, destroying most more northern cities, including like all of Iceland. We get a note that Mystique is by a couple percentage points more likely to vote for a plan that kills humans. when she knows the full truth of it.
Yeah, which is concerning.
Yeah, and which even concerns Destiny. She's like, I love
Right.
her, but ooh.
However,
Yeah. She also can't predict her own actions with 100% certainty. Best she can get
Yeah.
is like 85%.
yeah.
And she's like, this never fails to mystify me that I don't even know what I'm doing. And then so yeah, vote goes through. Everybody else kind of votes how you'd expect. Destiny judged by Mystique. So some judgments. Destiny is judged by Mystique. She fails because her actions don't support her words of there being no destiny, and the fact that she always lives in fear of the future, fear of losing Raven, etc. Emma is judged and failed by all her dead students. Just brutal.
Thank you, Kieran Gillen.
Yeah, I know. God.
Thank you for not forgetting about Genosha. You make me so happy.
Kate Pride passes with no pageantry whatsoever. It just happens. Another piece of deep cut lore that fits extremely well. Shaw is judged by his father, and we've kind of gotten previous glimpses of Shaw's father and their relationship from the X-Men Hellfire Club limited series that I read for the pod a couple months ago. But Shaw basically uses this opportunity to make a power play and start being a player on the council once again, instead of just being Emma's sort of like lapdog. And he wants to cut a good deal with the Eros faction of Eternals on the grand bargaining table. And it ends up working, and he gets a bunch of like kudos from the entire mutant community, but he's also putting himself in a position to profit personally and make a bunch of money. Exodus passes judgment. Shaw is failed, but he fails not from his father, but from Emma.
Yeah.
And he is disgusted by this. Like, cannot believe that they think that he would respect Emma, which is such a cool touch.
Yeah.
Because clearly he does. He can't run away from that truth now.
Right. Yeah. From a relatively neutral third party.
Yeah.
And then it ends with...
And yeah, he's basically like, yeah. It ends with him. Well, he has this, like he's cutting deals so that he can live today, profit tomorrow, et cetera, et cetera. And then he takes Celine's heart and uses it to summon Mother Righteous, as Celine had before him. So Celine cut the deal for the power to turn the gate into that giant kaiju, and this is all some bullshit from Mother Righteous. You know, Shaw will take any deal that profits him, and Mother Righteous is all about cutting deals. So this this is concerning.
The more we talk about deals, the fact that Mother Righteous has red skin, I'm gonna be real pissed if they make Mother Righteous some form or version of Mephisto.
That would be annoying. Yeah,
I need Mother Righteous to be her own character.
I was trying to think about who would be if Mother Righteous weren't her own character. Who would it be satisfying to be? Maybe a Rogue Legion personality.
Oh, that would be interesting. Wow, yeah, that would be real interesting.
You want to move on to the next issue of Immortal X-Men, number 7?
God. Yeah, let's keep going.
Immortal Sinister, 7. This is after Magneto's death. Pour one out. And the war is ongoing, and Sinister, who never met a problem he didn't think he could solve by clones, says, well, why don't we just throw a couple American football teams worth of Magnetos at it? Holy fuck, dude. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh, dude. Come on.
Come on.
Imagine, oh Lord, a couple football teams worth. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
jeez.
Nightcrawler gets sick of Destiny's bullshit and basically teleports her up into the air and makes her fall and shakes her up enough to be like, hey, you know something. Like, I know you don't want to spit it out, but fucking spit it out. Evil stepmother, come on, let's go. And and that's kind of where the Cap plan comes from, right?
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
he teleports Cap to the North Pole, takes a blood sample, gets the backup going, has him deliver the speech, and has it psychically broadcast the world, and then brings him back. So this was a Kurt plan through and through, but it was and that's why like it doesn't really from I listed Kurt in the last pod as one of the main characters um of the whole
Mm-hmm,
crossover,
mm-hmm.
and you might not get that impression so much from just the main story, but in the side stories you're like, oh fuck, he was
He was
a real
very much
major player
involved.
in this. He did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe the most impactful mutant aside from perhaps Jean Grey. Um, yeah. Uh, and then he moves to the next stage of the plan, which is so he's getting live backups from Xavier. So
Yeah,
his
he
deaths
reached
are
out to
remembered
Xavier. He's like,
in the
"Hey,
moment.
keep an eye on."
Yeah,
He's basically
and this
getting the
is
eternal treatment.
yeah, and he's like, this is the lie of Krakoa. We don't bring you back from death. We bring you back from before death, and you don't remember. Now I have to remember being vaporized atom from atom by uh Nimrod over and over again. Exodus looks at him and is like, one death would make you a martyrdom. This or one would make you a martyr. Yeah. But he does all this to parley with Moira. And this is what puts the Orcus plan into place.
Yeah. Ugh.
So that's how the machine got AI back up, and that's how Orcus ended up holding the line.
Yes, very, very interesting. He's just like, yeah, and she's like, Orcus and the X-Men. This will never last. And it's like, oh, come on, we've only got a few hours to live.
Yeah.
Let's give it a try.
So the
Oh,
spark is
boy.
paying dividends. It is really like pushing itself out into um, major ramifications for Marvel writ large.
Issue
Pretty
8
great.
is going to be very interesting. I only because I just kept turning because I didn't know if it was the end of the issue or not, and so I got the title
Yeah.
of the issue. It's
Oh, what's the title?
the Curious Case of Dr. Essex and Mr. Sinister.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Oh, shit. All right. Oh, God. Okay. Oh,
Yep. 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 All right. Shall we spend an
okay.
hour and a half on X-Men Red?
Yeah, we
Because
kind
we
of it's
could.
kind of unavoidable. Yeah.
All right. So X5. We go from X-Men Red 5 to X-Men Red 7.
No, 6 is in there.
Well, right, but like
Duh. Yeah.
5, 6, 7 is,
I'm an idiot. Yeah, 5, 6, 7. We're not skipping it.
three issues.
Yeah.
3 issues of X-Men. Issue 5 starts with Brandon Cable showing up to the Great Ring of Morocco, just being like, "Hey, what's her face? Destiny has
Destiny.
determined that the Eternals are going to attack. We have reason to believe that if they attack the Kirkoans, they're probably going to attack the Iraqi. So heads up." And
Yeah. And hey, you've got your own precog here, Zila. What's coming? And she makes the prediction, or they read because Zila can't talk. Or no, is it? I forget
deal.
a deal.
yeah,
And an empty heart beats hardest. An empty hand deals the impossible blow. Stalemate ends with victories lost. So yeah, idle or ideal or whatever. That's who it is. And then the war comes and Ideal dies immediately head cut off by I.S.E, who switches sides because this is an unwinnable conflict.
And so
which
they're like,
it's
oh
always
God.
a bad sign.
Yeah, I.S.E can't lose, and Kurt is like, Kurt's there, and Kurt's just like, got it, and teleports her away because they're gonna get wrecked. And then we get a little bit more into that in Legion of X, like how that goes down in Legion of X.
Yeah.
And you have, so this entire issue, you have the countdown of because Uranos gets unleashed on Arakko for exactly 60 minutes. And so you have, it starts with T-1 minute, and then you go through, and
they're not even done with the briefing before he gets there.
Yeah, T-0 is when I.S.E suddenly flips sides and does the kill, and then Uranos shows up at T plus 29 seconds. And Uranos just unleashes. And it really kind of, and we talked about this a little bit last episode, but just like the power level of Eternals, and then specifically Uranos. And then also we're going to spend X-Men Red seeing the power of Uranos, but then on top of that, remember that Uranos lost.
Right.
Uranos lost his uprising attempt. 400,000 years ago.
Yes.
Or however many years ago. He's been in prison because he fought Kronos to lead the Eternals, and Uranos lost. That is the power level of the Eternals. That's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, so different villages and named places that we've seen on Arakko,
including the art colony.
Which being attacked by what they call it biometallic slime looks exactly like Cable's replacement arm that he used when he had the techno-organic virus before he died and got his old arm replaced. It's that same black with the light blue lines, which was odd. And I don't know if that's just a random happenstance or like what, but they never specifically call it a techno-organic, being fluid thing. It's just this biometallic substance that is a weapon of Uranos.
We get the abridged we get the abridged version of Uranos versus Legion. That lasts 30 seconds.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. I was like, how did
Legion just shows up, and Uranos is like, oh yeah,
a worthy opponent.
and a worthy and then Legion's like, let's take this upstairs, let's fly away, and he says, wouldn't want to wreck the furniture.
And then so
we don't see the fight, and 30 seconds later Uranos is
returns
back and Legion is not.
Excuse me? Dude, I have such a fanboy hard on for the power of Legion, and he just gets deleted in 30 seconds. Excuse me?
Right.
Anyway, we see how that fight goes down in Legion.
We see the director's cut of this director's cut. God, dude. Yeah.
And then Magneto.
Then Magneto.
It's Magneto's turn.
13 minutes and 23 seconds.
Oh my gosh. And then 13 minutes 23 seconds in, Uranos just punches a hole into Magneto's chest.
Pulls out his heart.
Actually grips his heart and pulls it out. Cool. Ass. Dick. Fucker.
And remember, you can't be on the Great Ring of Arakko without being an Omega level mutant. So there are 9 Omega level, 8 because Storm isn't there to start because she's splitting time with Krakoa. So he just and then I.S.E switches sides. So really 7. Just levels them all. Like Aura Sarada damages the eye, but not the baby body. So
not the body.
Aura
Well, yeah,
lives,
and
but
that was one of those things where it's like
yeah,
you have a reality warper in Aura Serrata of
yeah,
just like her gaze can negate you from
yeah.
reality, and Uranus is
Doesn't
just
work.
like I can't be, my reality isn't dictated by you, and
I am
just punches
above
her. And it's
law.
like
Yeah,
okay, like it's a
yeah,
stretch. um,
sure.
but it's one of those things that you can do when you do not define somebody's power set.
Yeah, right.
When you have the Uranus Superman, like you just let
Right.
him
Totally.
do whatever you need the antagonist to do.
Yeah. Zelo, who is like
Oh, poor
a
Zelo.
swarm of insects and is
Swarm
the
of
living
insects,
embodiment of
and
all Iraqi history.
yeah, like he's basically the supreme intelligence of the Kree, but
Yeah.
for Araco. And as Uranos keeps destroying its body, it's losing more and more history of Araco, and that is just conceptually so heartbreaking.
I know, right? It's
Ah,
tragic. And so Zelo gets reduced to 13%. Brand is shot and killed. That
yeah.
becomes relevant later. But Lotus Logos, Zelo, Aura, and Magneto all survive, but um,
How does Magneto
you know,
survive?
greatly wounded
What a
and
great
yeah,
last
incapacitated.
frame
And
of issue 5, though.
yeah,
Magneto just
explain
being
it for the
like,
people who are listening.
"Let's keep going." So
Yeah,
Magneto, with his fine control over magnetism, controls the iron in his blood to keep blood pumping through his body.
yeah. He is able to continue
Yeah,
oxygenating and pumping his blood without a heart
I have
using his powers.
mild concerns about the ability about like
Clearly,
from a
it's not lasting very long.
no, it does.
And
It
he
buys him
makes that
another
clear.
like
Yeah,
it buys him like 30, 40 minutes of life. But like
yeah,
just like conceptually, there's a part of me that gets worried that by magnetizing or using the magnetic field of the iron in the blood makes it so it can't do the whole like grabbing oxygen hemoglobin thing that it's supposed to do.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was one of those things that was just
Whatever.
a passing thought while I was taking the shower today. And I was like, can he really do that? Because like it's one thing to use his magnetic powers to stop somebody's blood flow so they pass out.
Right.
I think it's a whole
right.
other thing to replace the circulatory system
Yeah.
with his magnetism. But it's not. It's so nitpicky. It's unnecessary.
It's just cool. Rule of cool
Yeah, it is.
means that this is fucking
It's
make it
fucking
happen. This is tight.
amazing.
Yeah.
Issue 6.
Issue 6. We open with an astronaut from NASA who has been accepted by Araco and stands with them and helps a bunch of little kids escape. And they're like, "We see you. You're part of this broken land." That's dope.
Yeah.
We learned that the Fisher King's name has been psychically amputated from him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What a loss. Oh man,
Ridiculous.
I was hoping to get the revelation of his mutant power as something just absolutely insane and like tide turning
Yeah.
in this.
Right.
It's not what we got.
We get something even better.
We got something so cool though.
And then
okay.
the last thing before you flip your fucking shit is that WizKid and Cable are like, yeah, it's time to talk about Brand.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Okay. So one. Okay. Before the drop, it's funny because you even said this before I read this, but like before the revelation drop,
I tried to say it to you in a way where you wouldn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah, and it still got me. I was in the bathroom when I read this issue, and I was just like, oh. But point is, the face that Roberto makes when revealing the night seat to Magneto is so different. Like Roberto is an arrogant bastard. He's
Yeah.
very, very intelligent, and he is
Yeah.
awesome. He's never the one in the wrong, and he never deflects to the leadership in front of him, except
Mm,
for Magneto.
except for
And
Magneto. Yeah.
they show it on his face here. Like whenever you
Yeah.
get a close up of Roberto's face, it's never like tilted down looking up from a like
Oh, you're right.
a
Yeah.
position of subservience. It's always
Deference. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
confident chin up, borderline
That's a
looking down
great
his
point.
nose at characters.
Yes.
And then here at the
Yeah.
end, you have a
It
dying
helps because he's
Magneto.
short too.
Yeah. And here you have a dying Magneto of just like, they show up and Magneto's just like, answer the question, why are you here? And Roberto's just like, well, when dawn, dusk, and day are split asunder, who's left, headmaster? The night seats. And he has this just like, well, I'm here to like try to do right by you, sir. And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh,
So
Roberto.
explain. So the night seats. So the Great Ring has 9 seats traditionally, and this is stuff that we've gone over in X-Men Red before, but you can go over it again here because it is newly relevant. Has 9 seats, and they're split up between dawn, day, and dusk. And there were rumors of the night seats, but they have been lost to history, et cetera, et cetera. And then in this time of crisis, the night seats show up, and Roberto fucking DaCosta, Sunspot, is just one of them. He's just like, oh yeah,
grabbed
I'm
one of the
part of this.
seats.
I'm part of this secret society ruling part of Araco during times of distress and crisis. Also on the night seat, on the night seats is the Fisher King.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Roberto has the seat of
Nobody.
nobody. The Fisher King has the seat of nothing. And then a new character, Caesar the Smoke, has the seat of nowhere.
Mhm.
And there's a big emphasis in the rest of the series, this issue, about like, let the old ways of Araco change. You know, like we have suffered all this stuff. We are being destroyed. Like we've seen a new wave from Krakoa. And Lotus Logos is kind of the main character in his like artistic poet self of kind of leading the change to a new Araco. And that's going to be a very this series, like we've been introduced to like such new concepts in Araco,
Mhm.
and like bunch of new characters, the Great Ring, like Iraqi society, all of this stuff, and it like barely has time to like breathe before they just upend the whole thing, and they're like, no, this is actually a story about this society changing. Interesting.
Yeah, and so the next, I mean, the what keeps the plot going is the revelation that the weapons of Uranus heal, and so the fight is renewed. Yada yada. You get. I'm trying to like jump to issue 7 because there's some stuff I
Yeah.
want to talk to in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the other amazing
Well,
thing in this issue
yeah.
is Storm and Magneto
Yes.
make this insane mutant circuit, where the relationship between electricity and magnetism is no secret
Right.
to anybody, and
Yeah.
so
It's just charged particles.
yeah. And in the past, Storm has tried using her
Mhm.
lightning on Magneto, and it just worked against them, and he got a
Yep.
huge power boost. So she's like, "Oh,
Yep.
yeah, let's do that again."
Yeah.
And so she just charges them way too much, and Magneto just gets this insane power boost and is able to just melt the weapon that was sent against them down to its plasticky bits. And just Storm and Magneto, who are two of the most powerful mutants and some of the most staunch and headstrong characters, forming a
Yes.
circuit that
And
is
also
nigh
No
unstoppable.
nonsense. Do what needs to be done. Like
Yeah.
they
Ugh.
fucking get it. and they live by a code of ethics and all this stuff. Yeah, so
Great
cool.
additions for Arako. Like they were great choices for Arako, regardless of what the original plot and desire was of having them go there. Like of the characters, I could also see Cyclops from a perspective.
Yeah,
Of the characters to be chosen to move from Krakoa to Arako, those are two of the best choices you could have had.
I think Storm is even more about it than Cyclops is, but yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so the climactic battle between Storm and Magneto and Uranos happens between issues here, right?
Yeah.
It happens
in A.X.E.
in the main storyline. So we won't belabor the point, but it is fucking tight. It is so
Yes.
cool, and this
Yes.
gives us the context of why Storm was necessary for the power boost, essentially, and why Magneto's chest was glowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because none of that is explained, and
Nope.
then when he falls over at the end, we're like, "Oh, is he dead? Oh yeah, he real dead.
God.
He doesn't have a heart."
Yeah, he has no heart. Like physically has no heart.
Right.
Yeah, and so he he's given himself enough time to have a full conversation with Storm as he's dying.
Yes. Yes.
most
So
of
that's
which-
where X-Men Red 7 picks up. So let's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of that conversation is about keeping an eye on Charles.
Yes.
Because he has his concerns.
Because he and Moira and Charles were the three founders. They kept each other in check, and even Apocalypse to a certain extent, they kept each other in check. All of them are gone, and it's just Charles left. And he says, like, yeah, promise me you'll watch Charles. He'll martyr us all. The lengths that he's a good man, but the lengths that good men will go to prove to the world that they're good are dangerous.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like just that entire conversation. So our enemies will strike and Charles will feel forced by events to act, to do something because something must be done, however terrible. And because in the no place of his heart, he cannot see a choice. And on that day, he will martyr us all. Shit. Terrifying. And so he's like, he is a good man, Aurora. We must be wary of good men for what they will not do to show that they are good, how good they are. And you're just like, oh God.
And then he's judged by his dead daughter Anya and passes, and then he passes away. And Storm is just, what a brutal scene. Just like, so few words. Storm is just there. Everybody's crying. You've got like Twilight, and wide camera angles and stuff as it zooms out. Yeah. Gut punch. That's Magneto. He doesn't have backups anymore. They won't bring him back. Well, I mean, we'll see. He's not dead forever. It's Magneto. Like
it's he'll come back, but how? And will he remember his conviction?
How? In what state? What decade of Magneto will be returned? What? How long will he be gone? Will we go another 10 years without any Magneto in comics?
No, man.
Could be.
Krakoa Magneto has been such a fun Magneto.
Incredible.
Damn it.
This was huge. This was such a big, and then we have a quote here on the next page for Magneto, which summarizes so much about X-Men so well. I want to read it, and because I remember like Matthew from Superhero Ethics asking this question, like why are we supposed to just accept that mutants are different? The public loves the Avengers. Yeah.
Mike needs to reset.
Oh my God. Is it doing it again?
It's going to
every week.
It happens at different times too.
Huh. Is it better now?
You're back.
Okay. Well, so Matthew from Superhero Ethics, asked the question. I've heard it several times all over the place. Like, why do we just accept that mutants are different? Like the public accepts superheroes They accept the Avengers. They love the Avengers. You know, Fantastic Four. All these people with superpowers are not scary, and people generally accept them. You know, with some hesitation and blah 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 blah. You got your Civil Wars. You got your whatever. But generally, um, so why are mutants particularly hated and feared? And I think this quote gets at the 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 heart of it. The quote is, "You cannot wish us away. You cannot ignore us. We are your children." And it's specifically because mutants are the children of humans that they are hated and feared. And that seems paradoxical. Like, we're related, you know, why would you? But it's the same reason um why a family will disown their queer children, right? Or anything like this. It's um the idea that your own family, your own children, this sort of like social reproduction, these people who you want to be like you, who you want to embody the continuation of yourself in some way, who you see as the continuation of yourself, aren't that. They're different. They're different and unknowable in this way that you cannot prepare for and cannot accept. That's what makes mutants different.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing I can add to that. I mean, it's. I think that's worth. We should reference that
Yeah,
when we bring them on.
sure. Sounds good.
But yeah, that is, and the fact that Magneto, just man, rip Magneto.
Rip Magneto, and then we have a full page that just says Magneto was right.
Another one for the list. But that was in Legion of X.
Oh, it was in Legion. God damn it. Still,
Which, yeah, we don't even have to. Okay. Three things happen for the rest of this issue.
Yeah.
Three story plots.
yes.
There's addressing what to do with Araka going forward, as far as the Great Ring, because there's like
Yeah.
nobody left, and the night seats show up, and basically there's this conversation between there's a disagreement between Iska and the rest of the ring, and Iska's like, please, you guys know you would not win if we fought to the death. That none of you would fight me, and we've even practiced on some of you, and none of you have won. Why would you? Why who dare would fight me? And and Storm stops her with a giant lightning bolt, and it's like, knowing we would lose, we'd fight you anyway. And she's just like, wait, to the death? And all of them are just like, yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me? And then it gets solved by Fisher King, and Fisher King
so cool.
Fisher King just says, okay, listen, I challenge you to a contest of understanding, Iska, and the winner is the one who most truly understands the meaning of loss. And then it dives into the Fisherman King's history and how he lost his name, and then
And his family
Iska,
and everything. Yeah.
yeah, and then Iska's upbringing and how she never lost, but from another perspective, she's lost so much, but she never sees it as that because she cannot lose, and because of that challenge, she now understands the meaning of loss, and she falls to her knees, and she finally gets it, and she resigns from the Great Ring.
Yeah. And she resigns because she cannot be of Araco because she can't lose. Now that she understands loss and what loss is, and Araco is a place with such a deep and painful and intricate and irreconcilable history of loss, shapes what it is. She is not in any meaningful way of Araco, like, and so she this could so easily be like a trite riddle, Like in a lesser book, you're like, how do you beat the unbeatable person? Well, you say, I challenge you to understand loss. But right, and that could be
Yeah.
like like a dumb riddle. But yeah, in this book it is actually really really cool. And she gets judged by the progenitor, who takes the form of Tarn, and she passes. She says, everybody don't follow me. So she
I'm
might,
out.
yep, she might show up later. She's like,
Mhm.
I'll kill you. I may kill you all yet. So we
Yeah.
may not have seen the last of Iska.
The other the other thing that comes from this is what is his name? Lotus Logos.
Yeah.
Says that we need to this is our chance to bring about a new Rocco,
Hmm.
one that dreams, one that can fantasizes about the future, one
Yeah.
that's governed by art and possibility and not
And
just war.
he is the artist and poet of the council, and Aurora yields her seat without challenge to him. So he gets the
And
tie breaking, the double vote on the
he gets,
council.
yeah, the seat of all around us.
Yeah, and then
And
she takes Magneto's vacant seat, the seat of loss.
the seat of loss, and there's just a beautiful art. Like, I almost want this art piece of her sitting at the table with the clouds forming Magneto's helmet in the
Hmm.
background.
Yeah,
So cool. And then
and
the
then the
final
last,
piece
yes,
is what's his name, Cable and WizKid being like, okay, so we know they're gonna resurrect Brand.
yeah,
She's gonna have a time miss. There's no way that she didn't track her movements in the time between
yeah,
when she was backed up. Also, the peak above Araco is a quantum copy of the
blah
peak
blah blah.
above
We can
Krakoa.
access what she's seeing
We can
when
access
she
what she's
briefs
doing
herself. Yeah,
without actually hacking, so there's no way to trace
yeah,
it back. So
yeah,
they pull up and there's like, hey, the question they want to answer is, did she kill Gyrick? That's
yeah,
the big question. And so they check as she's checking and updating herself. They watch and sees, oh crap, she did kill Garrick, but then they said, and then it says, holy crap, are you seeing this? What she's been doing, Cable? Are you? And he looks back, and Cable's pissed, and he's just
so pissed.
he's chick-chacking his gun, and he's
Yeah,
like, oh, I guess you did, and then we move on.
yep, and
And,
and
and by move on, I mean that's the end of the issue.
yep. Also, WizKid was passed by the progenitor, who took the form of his mom, and he was passed for looking for the truth even when he doesn't want to know it,
Yep.
which is very fitting because that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Okay, Legion of X and finish it off.
Legion of X, real quick.
Legion of
There's
X
a
#7.
number 7, a lot of fun stuff in it, and it basically gives further detail into Legion versus Uranos. Legion is visited by the progenitor to be judged, and Legion's just like, hey, could you help me with this? Like, was I right? And
Yeah,
so they go into the fight, and thank the gods it ended up that they ended with a with sort of a draw, and then
yes,
because of Legion's spread consciousness, he got distracted and Uranos was about to kill him, and then freaking Banshee with his Ghost Rider head
yeah.
shows
So
up and saves him.
they size each other up for a second, and Uranos is like, "Huh, we're evenly matched,"
Yeah,
which is
for
like,
for 10 seconds, they have millennia's worth of conceptual battles,
yeah,
from art to puns to actual like
to
warfare
dancing to playing music to actual punching and shooting
yeah.
laser blasts at each
And they
other.
both
Yeah,
agree, they're like, well, we're evenly matched, and then they're like, so yeah, if we unleashed ourselves and actually fought, we would both cease to exist.
yeah. And they're
Maybe
both like,
we
"Well,
don't
we've
do
done that.
this.
Well, we've done that before, except."
Yeah.
You
Legion's
know,
like, yeah, I've been there.
yeah, but and Ernos is like, well, now you have something to lose, and like not just your girlfriend, but the esteem of your people. And he's
Ugh.
at this moment being used as a psychic life raft by um Kurt to save Iraqi people
Mhm.
inside the altar. And so yeah, Ernos gets his goat. Uh and Legion loses his temper and nearly gets killed. And like you said, he's saved by Banshee / the Spirit of Variance. But this is at Mother Righteous's call. Says, you're still got the call that you're still needed to lead, and so Mother Righteous is still pulling strings here
Yeah, your people
in
need you
relation to
because
Legion.
Urnos has a conceptual weapon in the astral plane going
Yep.
towards the altar. And so Ruth is
Yep.
trying to save everyone, but she needs help. And so
Yep.
Legion shows up and goes and does that thing. And then, so there's also, we see a further fight between Iska and Nightcrawler. It's
Yeah.
inconsequential. It happened. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then there's the
when-
scene between Magneto and Legion.
Yeah, and so when they're preparing to go and deal with the climax of A.X.E, Legion shows up and he's just like, "Hey, wait! Like, I want to help." And he has this really awesome conversation with Magneto because they both have so much history.
Yeah.
Just with different perspectives on Charles.
Yeah. And so Magneto's like, "No, you can't come for this fight." And he's like, "Because I'd screw it up, right?" And he said, "No, because you're needed here." And he says maybe the most important words that anyone could say to Legion, which is, "I trust you."
Yeah. And just Magneto being such a cool fucking teacher, adult father figure.
Right.
And oh man, we've spent so many different scenes in Legion of X and X-Men Red of well, specifically Legion of X, of just like how Charles interacts with Legion and how little he acknowledges his existence. And then you have Magneto. He's just like, "Listen, trust is seeded in example and watered by time. We have the luxury of neither. I need someone who can hold off those machines, David, all of them, all at once, across the entire planet. I need someone who can do that and survive. You understand? There must be those who fight and live, or why fight at all? And so I trust you." Puts his hand on his shoulder and pieces out. And just with the "I trust you," Legion is given all of the motivation he needs to literally go and defend the entire planet against all of Uranus's machines.
So cool. And that's when we get the full page spread that just says Magneto was right.
Yeah, and it's just one of the and Legion, he's like, as he's doing, he's like, finally, I didn't fuck up. Finally, I made someone proud. I bought them the time to beat the Eternal Machinist. They did it. He did it, and then he was dead. And like he was able to make this father figure proud, but then his father figure died. It's
Yeah.
fuck. And it ends with Progenitor being like, "No, you passed judgment. You're a good man."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Thanks, but I don't really care."
Yeah. You know who did get it. You know who does have the right to say things like this is Magneto. He understood. I rule me.
Yeah, he knew. And just the way he said, the way it's framed, and the way he like says that, just like in the smaller text to himself, I'm just like, he knew. And like this is Legion's like not a tone, like ode to this person that he looked up to, and that believed in him, because nobody does. So good. So damn good. Okay.
Well, what a pod.
What a pod. It's a hell of a long pod. We're past 3 hours of recording, but we also had some time of
There we go. Yeah.
bio breaks.
We can
So
justify
anyway,
it that way.
This welcome to the world of crossover events, right? Or welcome back, I should say, because I know you've
been a
read
minute.
some crossovers in
A
the
lot
past.
of them.
And so next week, I think we're going to try to have a crossover debrief and bring in some ethical perspectives on this entire existence that is Judgment Day.
Heck yeah. I'm
And
stoked.
we'll have some new friends on the pod. Not new friends, but some friends on the pod, and new to Twitch, new to us streaming on Twitch friends.
There we go.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, well, with that, let's put the outro music here. And I can't wait to read some regular 616, not regular
Yeah.
616s, but man, this
The stack is growing.
stack, man. Only 2 books have come out in the last 3 weeks, so I do appreciate that.
Oh, okay.
And so I have a little bit of a brief, but golly. Anyway, I'm so stoked that we're reading Judgment Day, or read
Me too.
Judgment Day.
Yeah, this was wonderful.
Are you going to read Dark Web? Since
We'll
there's
see.
X titles in it.
We'll see. I'm gonna at least read the X-Men crossover title, book, and maybe I'll read some more.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. All right.
Cool.
Well, we'll call it there. I'm going to stop Audacity now.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. I will
Man.
stop.
Recording stopped.
Recording stopped. 060423.
Oh yes. Why don't I do this now instead of next week?
Judgment Day companions. And so, you know how like a couple weeks ago I was like, which episode was that recording on? Because I've only ever saved the date of the recording.
Same. I saved the episode number for a long time and then I lost track and now I just saved the date.
Yeah. And so now I'm putting the date and then what was covered. And so when that episode comes out, I delete it.
Can you send, just in future reference, what you covered to me for a particular date? Because it's faster than like listening to the recording and be like,
Right.
Okay, you did this. Oh shit, I didn't write that down fast enough.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm down for that.
Cool. I really appreciate it.
No problem. All right.
All right.
Well,
Have a great rest of your evening. I'm gonna go watch
you as well.
some basketball and then maybe play some Zelda.
Nice. I'm going to have some dinner and relax and then stream. We're doing Spider-Verse tonight.
Oh, sick.
2014 Spider-Verse.
That's wonderful.
Hell yeah. All right, then. I will
Cool.
catch you sometime soon later.
Looking forward to it. Take care.
All right. Bye. All right, friends. That's it for me. I'll be back in 2 hours and we're going to read some Spider-Verse. It's going to be awesome. Be healthy, be strong, be gentle. Tell your loved ones you love them, even if you're upset. And I'll see you soon. Goodbye.